Yeah, Prophet Marshall Occurrence back at it. So this is gonna be, like I said, an ongoing campaign about basically my channel is broken down to spiritual military objectives. That's all I'm gonna be talking about right now. Moving forward, that's all I'm talking about. All I'm gonna be talking about is spiritual military objectives because it just don't make no sense to produce these messages that sound good, but it's not relevant to what we going through, and it's not relevant to what we doing. So I rather encourage others and myself, because I go back and listen to my own messages, because it really ain't nobody producing these kind of sound bites, and I'm just being honest. So I go back and listen to my own messages, because I really don't know what people's head is at. I know where mine is at, where it's all about this offering. It's all about fasting. I'm gonna, and I say humbly right now, um, I'm on a spiritual fast, and I'm fasting for 2 days. One day is accomplished, and I'm in hours time of the second day. I say this for educational purposes, informative purposes, not to boast, not to brag. That's not my purpose. It really is not. Um, but yeah, I'm on day 2 of a fast, and it's all about the spiritual warfare. So because it's about our objective of finishing this war, um, we're going to be obviously talking about what we actually have to do to finish this war. And that's going to be fasting and offerings. Fasting and offerings. Another reason I'm fasting right now is because my offering to Vietnam is finna leave America in the next 24 hours or so. What's Sunday? Yeah, in the next 24 hours or so. Mm-hmm. Less than 24 hours. My offering is going to Vietnam, and that hasn't even started. What I want people to be encouraged with, that's in this spiritual warfare with me, is that the next wave hasn't started. I just sent $4 million to Vietnam, a church in Vietnam. Yeah, as in Vietnam, the country. Yeah. That offering is right now is at the International Mail Hub in New York City, in the JFK Airport. So it's going to leave tomorrow. It stays up there for about 3 days, and so it's going to leave tomorrow, and that's going to be like $4 million going out. More than $4 million, 4.5 million, to Vietnam. And so that wave hasn't started, obviously. Once it leaves the country, that's why I'm fasting. I want to fast while it leaves the country. So you gotta fast when things move and when things touch down, especially when it comes to these offerings. If you send out an offering by mail like I do to through internationally, it's gonna take 3 days to leave the International Mail Hub. When it leaves, this is just an example, you should go on a fast, and when it touched down, which will be usually internationally anywhere, mail usually gets anywhere about 7 days to about 2 weeks, depending on how you size up how long it probably would take. You could fast at 7 days once it leaves, or 2 weeks, but you should fast once it touched down. Once it touched down, you fast. So that's what I do too. I fast once it touched down and when it leaves. Sometimes when it leaves, I'll do that too. In this case, where I'm putting $4 million in Vietnam, I feel the need to fast while as soon as it goes out there. You know what I'm saying? Making sure it's just going out there. Good update too. I have received an email from the church in the Middle East that I've been given to. They right in the middle of the war and everything. And see, I'm this is really where I'm at. Like my mind is overseas and everything. Like I said, like 16 million over there. And the first time I sent 4 million. The next time I sent 16 million. So, and they, one guy emailed me from that church, which was great. And I'm glad I emailed him. And he let me know that the money I sent is making a difference, because that's like $20 million over there. So I'm happy about that. You know what I'm saying? That's in the Middle East, right there above Israel, all that over there. So it's a church right above Israel, right over there where Iran, everything that's going on. So I sent an offering out there before this war even started. So it's just I'm working over there in the Middle East, but now see so much wars going over there that I can't send an offering over there no more. They're on the mail suspension list. So I always keep an eye on that list, because the Lord got me keeping an eye on that list so that I don't send money to a place that it's not going to reach its destination, and you don't know if they're going to send the mail back. Sometimes they might not, so you'll have no way of knowing. But so I watch that mail suspension list. If you give internationally like I do, with all the things that's going on, make sure you go to the USPS website and make sure that you can send mail to the country that you want to send mail to. Okay, so with that being said, I can no longer right now at the time send money to Lebanon or out to the Middle East out there, Israel neither, some other countries out there, but Russia, I can't send money out there either. I sent money to Russia and Venezuela, and I don't know if it got there because it never came back, but it might have did. On AI, it actually says there's a possibility it still could get through, so it might have got through. I don't know. But the bottom line is, we're deep in the trenches as far as getting this spiritual war going against these people who opposed us. It's bigger than a secret society. That's why we don't pay attention to nobody like that no more. I don't give my undivided attention to no particular group of people in America anymore. I mean, the wars broke out. The war is out. The war is on. So it's like the whole community is just waiting and bracing themselves for basically World War III or something similar to it. So something similar to World War III or World War III itself. So I mean, at this point, my objective is done. That's what we was hoping for. We way ahead of time. I'm way ahead of time. That's why I don't focus on geographics and where I'm at, because long as our objective is accomplished, I don't care where I'm at. I'm a full-time soldier. I don't care if I got to go to the streets. Right now, I'm preparing to go to the streets. Because I don't want to live among the program that I'm in is dominantly homosexuals, and I don't really want to live among homosexuals anymore. You know what I'm saying? I figured it out. You would think that this is New York. You got all type of different sexual orientations, but it's just dominantly a homosexual facility, and I don't want to be around homosexual activity. That's my prerogative. You know what I'm saying? Instead of talking about it or pointing it out, which is nothing I can do about that, I just rather move on. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my prerogative, and that's what I choose to do. And so, I'm literally, man, all about this. I'm pray for me, because I'm about to go back to the streets and go from there. And whatever happens, God will show me where to go from there. But that's what I'm about to do. He'll lead me after that. But I don't want to. I turned down an apartment from these people. I could have been in an apartment, maybe, I don't know. But they offered me an apartment and I turned it down because I realized that it's all a trap and it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work, but this whole thing where I'm living at is a whole scam. You know what I'm saying? So why would I take anything from them after I figure that out? You know what I'm saying? Once I figure that out, why I'm gonna take anything from them? Okay, so it's a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? I'm just move on. I already let my caseworker know that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I got planned. So it's plenty time. The good thing about it is it's plenty time to work more spiritual warfare up until the time that I gotta leave, and I already got an offering out there on its way to Vietnam. You know, this time tomorrow. So you know it's gonna be on its way out there tomorrow. This time tomorrow. So you know it's a real good situation. You know, I stand on my own. If you don't know who I am, my name is Prophet Marcello Kranz. I stand on my own. I work as a spiritual military personnel that works by himself. I have no team. I have no team of people that's helping me. I do everything by myself. I finance everything by myself. I fast by myself. I do everything by myself to get this job done. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna let anybody bask in the glory that I got. You know what I'm saying? And no one's doing what I'm doing. You know, so you know, I stand alone and I choose to remove myself from people that want to fight and play games. You know, I listen, man, listen. We doing so good, it's not even funny. So it's just like out of self-respect, I'd rather just go to the streets and think about my wins on the streets than rather be people treat me like I'm a student in here. I'd rather be on the streets thinking about land somewhere, thinking about my wins and how this is all over and we winning, and be out there. That's just the man animal I am, you know. Than to be in a room where somebody act like you a student or something like that. I mean, come on, I'm a sensei, certified, and I'm not going to be subject to people playing games. I mean, that's the level I'm on. Maybe you're not on that level, but I don't take any disrespect. I don't take nobody acting like that. I'm subject to their opinion. I'm still subject to what you know. It's not gonna happen, bro. So it's not arrogance. It's realizing you've outgrown situations. You won. When you win, you outgrow. When I outgrow, I win. When I outgrow a situation, and you see what I'm saying, and I got bigger wins than the situation I'm in, and my wins is bigger than the situation I'm in, I won. My wins have outgrown this situation. Therefore I have outgrown this situation where, you know, it don't make sense for me to be here no more. Once I come into a situation and I get the next level of wins and that overshadows anything that the people doing, it's time to move on. Because it don't make sense no more. We call World War III is on the horizon, right? Everybody know that's what I was shooting for, and everything has changed. Now imagine me still being here subject to people's opinion and playing the same games they was playing like back in December and you know what I'm saying? Come on. No. I know when to move on, even with spiritual warfare, when people will think it's a bad decision. No, it's not. I've done this, I've played this position a million times, and you know what I noticed? Everybody has been doubting me the whole time. Okay, so I mean, but I did what I had to do. So then you have to refresh yourself, understanding my judgment on situations. I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Once you get your respect, and once I knew that basically what's been done is enough to go ahead and move on, ain't no need to stay here. For what? I would have stayed if it was a good situation. But I don't sense that it will be. I sense that it will be the same situation where it's guerrilla warfare in another neighborhood, and psychological games in a facility or a building. I'm not going through that no more. The psychological games, the people that's around me that think they bad, but we don't know them. They, no. So I just know when it's a lost cause and it's time to move on. Like, see, that's when you know you're on the next level. When you start turning down opportunities, because some people don't. Some people don't turn down no opportunities. But when I know it don't work for me and it doesn't work for my better good, and it's making it look like I'm still a student, like I'm a little pet for these people, it's time to move on, bro. It's time to move on, and that's how you know when you getting treated with arrogance, like people still in your lane. It's time to go. That's how you know. You outgrew that situation. I've outgrown this situation. I've outgrown it, and so now it's just time to be where I'm in my own space, whether it's on the streets or not. That's okay. It's a lot of Americans on the streets right now. Have you seen that lately? It's a lot of Americans on the streets. They're on the streets. They're sleeping in their cars. They're sleeping in storage units. They're sleeping all out in the streets in the world. Americans are all out in the streets. And that's like not people from the hood. That's like suburban women, suburban dudes, and people all out in the streets. That's the times we live in. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of people. You can see it all on the internet, man. People sleeping in their cars. That's a big thing that's going on. And they making videos showing you that they're sleeping in their cars and everything. So I'm definitely not the only one, which feels better. It feels more comfortable realizing even when people can do videos, sleeping in their cars, and everything like that. I did videos from the streets myself, but that's me. That's the animal I am. But when I started seeing people other than me doing videos from the streets and stuff like that, things definitely has changed. That's something that the present administration is not addressing. All these people living on the streets. And I'm not talking about literally, I'm talking about people sleeping in their cars. One girl died from some type of chemicals in her car, sleeping in her car. I knew what it was as soon as I heard about it. Some girl that was in her car, and she died from some type of chemicals, inhaling chemicals while she was asleep, from the exhaust or something, and she died. That's a sad way to go. Struggling out there in the streets. People gotta do what's best for them. You gotta always do what's best for you. It's not that you can't cut it. It's just you have to weigh. You have to use discernment. Is this? You already see a pattern of disrespect for me. And I'm already big as I am right now. Can you imagine 4 or 5 more months? I can't do it. Nah. I don't supposed to do it. And I know when it's time. I know my discernment is good. I know when it's time to say, yo, yeah, I'm cool, I gotta be on my own. Because when you start feeling this sense of control, or somebody think they're above you, or they around you with this opinion of you, it's time to move on. You know what I'm saying? But see, now I'm glad that America has centered in on this situation, and I'm glad you see why I'm leaving. I'm glad you see why I move on so frequently. It's because of these type of people. That's what it is. And now you see it firsthand. Now you can't blame me. Now you can't think I'm autistic, or because one of the signs that they say of autistic people is they move around a lot and stuff like that. So now you see it's not that situation. I stayed here for 9 months in this housing program. They intentionally kept me here for 9 months. I don't supposed to be here no longer than 3 months. And I know that. I'm smart enough to know that after 3 months or so, and you qualified, they let you move on. Okay, so they kept me in this situation on purpose, used all type of psychological games on the grid, in the neighborhood, and everything. And so I definitely seen all the psychological war in the building, all around the building, in the neighborhood, in the merchants, with the grocery stores, with the merchants. I seen it all. So why would I take an apartment from that same organization that put me in that situation? So I got to see it all. You know what I'm saying? And once, what really made me make the decision to move on from this organization is when I seen that when I went somewhere else, the same day after waiting here for 9 months, they give me a call, which means you don't mean good. You're trying to keep me on a grid of what you're doing, right? So that I will stay in the grid and go to another apartment where you got this gridded out, and the same thing goes on and on. It's not going to happen. You know, I'd rather be on the streets. And see, that's how you know you've outgrown America. When you realize, I'd rather be on the streets than deal with America. No, listen to that. I'd rather be on the streets than deal with America. It's one thing to say, okay, you talk all this junk, but you ain't willing to go to the streets. I proved I'm willing to go to the streets than deal with America. Okay, that's it. You know, I proved it. I've done it before. This ain't my first time. That's why it's gonna be, this time is gonna be better and easier and more of a cakewalk for me. You know, because I've done this so many times. It's gonna be comfortable. You know, I'm gonna make it comfortable. But that's where I'm gonna be, and I'm gonna just work it like that until the rest of the community collapse. Now we all about to collapse. You know, under God's judgment. You know, this country collapsing under God's judgment. That's what we waiting for. So, you know, it's just like, that's where it's at. And we're going to keep giving the offerings. You know, I'm going to keep giving the offerings. Don't think I'm going to stop. Remind you, like I said, we've already made the proper connection to make this objective. It's accomplished. It's accomplished. We got this done. It's I don't need to be here no more. I already expressed that from the times that I was doing before this, a couple months before this, maybe a month or so, something like that. I've already expressed this, that this is overtime. I've already got my job done. I don't play clown games and play carnival games. Okay, I've never been that type of person. I'm a funny person. I'm a funny person, but I'm not somebody to play with. And that's facts. That's absolute facts. So clown games and all this stuff going on, I stay away from it, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I know how I'm built, and they don't know that. And I stand on my own how I'm built, and nobody can change that. Nobody can change it. It's just what it is, you know. So I know when it's time to move on. I know when it's time to stand my ground on what I feel, stick to my guns. And I know when people are beneath me and they acting like they somewhere comparable. It's just, it's arrogance from the Americans. I don't care about arrogance. I care about what people do and they don't do. If you don't do anything, you know, it's arrogance. And that's how we look at it. It's talking loud. I talk, but I back it up. That's the difference. I back this stuff up. It's like you can't say, okay, he just talking loud like it's rah-rah. No, I back it up. I got numbers. See, back in the old school, we talked it and backed it up. People would talk whatever they got to say, and they would deliver. That's how the old school is cut. And what I look like, a grown man being subject to somebody else. See, that's what it boils down to. So then you got manhood. You know what I'm saying? You realize, okay, as a grown man, I can't be subject to another man. That's just not going to ever happen. I don't care what you feel. See, that's manhood. Your aura is not subjected to any other person. My energy is not subjected to any other person, man. It's just, that's not gonna ever happen. That's how it is. That's how you live your life. You don't never make your energy subject to someone else when you humble yourself under somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Nah. You know what I'm saying? I know that's not me. That ain't gonna ever be me. But you can tell when people think that is you because the stuff they do. So it's just like, nah, you got me, you tripping. You got it twisted. You got me messed up, little buddy. Yeah, so we don't pay that no attention, you know what I'm saying? It's the same weirdos, you know what I'm saying? And we on our business, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm leaving here and moving on, and it's nobody that's gonna get me defocused. Just pray for me that I don't lash out, you know what I'm saying? And I stay humble and I stay focused, you know what I'm saying? Because it's over. We got it done. We got this done. That's why we got to go somewhere else and celebrate. I don't care if I go to the streets. I got to go out there and celebrate. Instead of dealing with counterfeit war. It's the counterfeit war. It's not even a real war. How? My objective is done. How's the real war? What real war? It's counterfeit wars. That's why I don't fight fake wars. I don't fight fake enemies. Enemies that are not even a threat to what I'm doing. And like, I don't fight that because you want to be in my story. I know that. I know you want to be in my life. You want to be in my story. See, when somebody call you out like that, that means, bro, you're done. You're done here. You've been too called out for you to proceed forward and it makes sense. It don't make sense to nobody. So, you know, man, for me, man, you know, I don't give people 15 minutes of fame. Everybody got to get theirs out the mud just like the next man. You know what I'm saying? You got to get yours out the mud like the next person. If you don't think you got to do that in the world we live in, I'm surprised. Listen, I'm sorry to tell you, you got to get yours out the mud like everybody else. So this is going to be the next phase, going back to the streets and getting it out the mud just like everyone else. You know, just like the next time. Like, I do it over and over again. I get it out the mud over and over again. So I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's what level I'm on, where, you know, some people will be depressed and sad about going to the streets. I'm not because I know I'm now confident that once I go to the streets, that God is going to be right there doing everything I need. And see, some people that's here in America, that's just not their lane at all. Just to be on the streets means, to them, they've been failed by God. God knows what kind of soldier I am. I can go to the streets and still fast and still give offerings from the street. That's what I was wanting to say. The offerings. I'm gonna still be giving offerings from the streets. I did it the last time, less than a year ago. I was in California and I had to go over there to get my ID. So I got my ID now, you know, and that's very important with ICE and all this stuff going on. You know, yeah, it's more important now, you know, and I'm part Latino too, so I look different, right? And so I have to worry about ICE. I gotta keep my eyes and ears open, like keep my brain on a swivel, because ICE might pull me. And so that's why I always take my ID, you know what I'm saying? I'm part Peruvian. If you don't know, from South America, I'm part Peruvian, and I can prove that with my DNA. You know, I took a DNA test, so it's not something that I had from my family, folklore from my family. I'm part Peruvian, so and so people might want to see if I'm illegal or things like that. I have to think about things like that. Some things that some black people might not have to think about. You know, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go back to the streets and still be giving offerings and fasting from the streets. This is how real it is, man. I mean, if you really look at it, man, it's a lot of people being led this way. I mean, you can look at it on YouTube and everything like that, and you can see that It's a lot of people being led that way, out to the streets for whatever reason, whether it's for, and they're not crazy. I mean, you could go look at these people. It becomes when it's not good for you. That's all. That's what. It's a different generation that will do whatever they gotta do. See, my generation and younger is like, if it don't work for me, I'd rather be on the streets. That's it. That's the logic of people my age and younger, and I've seen it already. I'm not the only one, so I just started doing it more earlier than other people did, my age, and people think you crazy for it, but until they start seeing other people do it. Now they starting to see other people do the same thing. It's not that you can't. A lot of times, them people are not on the streets because they can't be a certain place. It just doesn't work for you, and that's what you have to determine. You have to determine when it no longer serves your agenda. When it's not good for your overall better temperament. When it's not good for your temperament and your respect level that you demand, that you command, and you're not commanding the respect that you know you command, and you're being subject to some foolishness, it's time to go. It's that simple. That's how I determine it. If I'm not getting treated like I usually am treated, and sometimes that's going to happen at the hands, I hate to say it, at other black people. White people will respect you for who you are, while black people think, they're arrogant and think whatever, but look at the situation they in. They can't even afford to judge you. They're not doing any better than you, to judge you. So, it comes a point where I have to draw the line and say, I'm doing too much to be subject to these people's opinion. I'm just sorry. It's just something I can't digest. I can't digest it. I can't be in an atmosphere where people think they on my level, but I know better than that. I know I'm making $16 million transactions. And I know they ain't never in no way flipped any kind of money to turn it to $1 million. That's basically me flipping it, and me using the smarts that God gave me, where I'm flipping money and turning it into millions of dollars, thousands of dollars. They not doing that, and so then imagine me being subject to their opinion. It's not just the material aspect; it's the rank aspect of you, what you getting done. It's not just the money; it's what you doing with the money. It's what you getting done with the money. It's that too. It's not just the money itself; it's what you getting done. And they not doing nothing. That's what I mean. And they thought I was one of those same type of people. But I played my position well. I down dressed. I didn't buy any clothes. I mean, people thought I was a bum. That's good. You don't see nothing different about my clothes. You see the same. I wear the same stuff. You get confused. You get puzzled. Question marks all over your head. Like I wear the same stuff. I look the same every time people see me. I like that because I'm in uniform. That's the main thing. I'm in uniform, and so basically, I don't play clown games. Like I said, I'm not a clown. And that's what I want to make very clear. And sometimes you got to make that clear with your absence. You have to remove yourself to prove you're not like these people. And it takes that, and that's what people respect, So I'm coming with a different energy, coming to the streets this time. I'm coming to the streets by choice when I could have been in an apartment, but I'm surrounded by homosexuals and trannies and transsexuals. I can't do that no more. It's just something went off. I got an epiphany. It's not that it was bad things that happened to make me feel this way. It's just once I realized that's the type of person that think they in my lane, and I seen enough of that more over and over again. It's like, no, buddy, how? I'm trying to understand how. We two different walks of life. And that's what I'm saying, bro. So instead of being a jerk and going and living with people you don't like, and you know that, and you don't like the lifestyle and the way they live, and rather than do that, I'd rather be the bigger person and let people think whatever they want to think, right? But I know what my motives are. I just don't want to live among that kind of energy. No. and I'm also considering how far along we are. Now, if I wasn't as far as long as I am right now, I might would sacrifice my peace and what I want to do, like I have here, to go ahead and get further. But now that we this far along, and this war is happening in Iran, I'm not sleeping on America being totally down. They're not down till they down. Especially this country, it's not down till it's down. When people keep saying it's over, no, I keep working. This country is not down till it's down. That's what you got to remember about America. This country is not down till it's down. Okay? So with that being said, you know, we gonna keep fighting until it's down. Until it's absolutely down. You know, this is why you can't take people for granted. You know, now people want me to stay. Now you see what I'm capable of doing. I told y'all this. So now you got to renege on everything you thought. You got to renege on it. You got to say, okay, this dude was talking loud, but he backed it up. That's what I want to hear. He was talking loud, but he backed it up. Now everything done changed. Gas prices done changed. Just in case you think ain't no change came yet. And you know, you don't know what gas is gonna be from day to day. You don't know what oil is gonna be from day to day in this situation. So we doing real. Look at that. I'm doing real good. And I did that under a month, under a year from coming to New York. That's good enough for me. That's good, because what I really wanted to do is what I'm doing anyway. I wanted to make sure I left in a good place, a calm before the storm. I don't want to leave when the storm happened and be barely able to get out of here. Nah, I'm gonna leave when I know I'm smart enough wise enough to know what's ahead for New York. I'm wise enough to know what's ahead for America. And so I just feel like it's the right move to make. You know what I'm saying? Being that I'm built to go onto the streets and be comfortable. Some people can't. So God wouldn't put them in, he wouldn't put certain soldiers in certain situations, because they'll fall into despair. They'll be depressed on the streets, not me. Some people not built like that, you know, and that's okay. That's okay. That doesn't mean you know, you need to be like me, or you need to be like somebody else that would do the same thing, or you need to sleep in your car to prove your rank. You at where you at, and if you can stay out the streets, that's obviously the best ideal plan. But I can go into the street without being mad at God. See, that's how the prophet is built. I can go to the streets without being bitter towards the Lord. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's that. You know, but we gonna hold people liable. That's liable. Like HASA, this organization called HASA, we gonna hold them liable because you acted on the behalf of the Americans, and we know that. Okay, I don't care all the people you use, all these women at HASA, and I don't care nothing about that. I don't care nothing about that. I'm looking at what I know for sure that you did. You know, like I seen the psychological games when I was in HASA's office the last time I was there. Oh yeah, they had all kind of little psychological games and everything. You know what I'm talking about, right? They had that going on. Okay, so I wasn't blind to it. You know what I'm saying? People saying stuff right in my face, they ain't got no business saying, but they try to save face for it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. See, they suffer, and then they try to come back and make it right. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you can't make it right. You done messed up, and you gotta pay. That's all it is to it. So for me, man, with that being said, I just think it's a good place to move on and just work the South from this point. I ain't going back out to California neither. You ain't gotta worry about that. New York and California is off for me. It's too much of a grid for Freemasons and secret societies. They just love New York. They love California. Okay, so then, you know, they're going to have more struggles in the Bible Belt, you know, with all this homosexual stuff and lesbian stuff. They're going to have more struggles. They ain't going to be able to move more fluently as they are here, you know, in California. You know, in the South, they're going to have, you know, they got to take precaution, you know what I'm saying, because everybody don't agree with all that gay and lesbian stuff, you know. Everybody don't agree with it. So, you know, if you're Christian, the South is gonna work better for you. Especially with the gang stalking. You know, you're gonna have people that got better hearts in the South that don't agree with that. Up here, it's all about the dollar. You know, they'll sell their soul for a bucket of chicken. You know what I'm saying? From KFC. You never know. You know, so you know, it's just a matter of, man, realizing you got low quality people in the atmosphere, and it's better to go around better high quality people with morals and everything. So I would suggest, if you are a Christian, you should go somewhere down south. Not any metropolis. If you can, if ideal would be a little town outside of metropolises, because they, you know, Charlotte want to keep up with the Joneses. They want to keep up with New York and every place. They ain't gonna never be like that, because they don't think the same way the people think out here. So it wasn't that I couldn't handle it. It wasn't that I couldn't make it through. It just came to a point where it's a lost cause for me. You know what I'm saying? You know, it just comes to a point where it's a lost cause. So we just move on and let these Freemason police and let these Freemason people and secret society people go through what they need to go through with God. You know, that's that. They ain't fooled me. They ain't fooling me at all. You know, so, you know, we basically gonna just, you know, move on and let people suffer what they gotta suffer. So, you know, that's where I'm at in my mode. Pray for me, because that's where I'm at, you know. So this message is going to be about the offering. The offering, you know, because that's basically what we're gonna be doing right now in moving ahead. If you're on the same wavelength and you are a spiritual warrior that's high ranking, there's really nothing else to do but fast and give offerings. Like, literally, man, like literally, even, you know, the quality of life is like affected by what, 30% at this point, based on all the stuff going on. So we just want to see these people realize it's coming to an end. And, you know, you might think prophecy is going to save you and you're going to rise back up to this country, that it's not going to work. Prophecy is not going to save America. Okay? Prophecy is not going to save this country. Because you got people like that's wicked, and they think that, well, the mark of the beast is going to come and we're going to come back on top. You don't know when that's going to happen. You don't even know if that's going to happen in your lifetime. That's the facts. You could say people always felt like it was the end. But I'm going to tell you what it's the end of. It's the end of you as Americans. That's facts. Now, will the mark of the beast come? That I do not know. But you get just as arrogant when you like trying to predict it. You got to be careful not to try to predict stuff. People trying to predict when the mark of the beast is going to come. And if I don't try to do any of that kind of predicting of things like that, major like that, like the New World Order and the mark of the beast, and a lot of people do that, and you find that nothing happens. Years later, nothing happens. The same year, nothing happens. I don't get in trouble trying to predict big milestones like the mark of the beast and the New World Order, the rise of the Antichrist and stuff like that. But this is what they think gonna save them, and it's not. You know, it's not gonna save them. This country, I believe, is going to collapse before any of that stuff happens, which means we gonna have the pleasure of seeing this enemy fall before any of that stuff happens. That's what I hope for. That's what I believe. To where we know for sure it's over for these people. Which means some drastic things have to happen. Real bad things have to happen. Where it's just over. No matter what you do moving forward, you ain't gonna be able to rebuild this, what you call America. You ain't gonna be able to rebuild this country, or you ain't gonna be able to rebuild nothing. It's gonna be over. And so for that to happen, see what I'm saying? We gotta keep giving the offering. We gotta keep fasting and playing our position. And so what I want to prove in this video is that there is an offering that God has accepted that is for warfare reasons and for war, because they deserve it. You see all the psychological games they playing. Okay, so that's why I'm on my game every day. I'm not gonna respond by yelling and screaming to the air, and I'm not gonna respond like that. I'm gonna respond by staying focused on my war. That's how I'm gonna respond. And sometimes people ain't smart enough to see how you really responded. How I'm responding is I'm gonna go stay on my war and keep fighting my war while they smiling and thinking it's a game. We done changed everything. I don't see what they could be laughing at, because it's almost over. I mean, you can see where people have always said it's almost over, but look at certain key things this time, like how the people think. Look how the people think, where it's just a lost cause anyway. Look how crazy the people are, where it's like a lost cause whether they have some or not. You could say it's we already won because they mind gone. Look how crazy their minds are. Like, look at that. So it ain't gonna be no good, nice world anymore anyway. It's not gonna be no sweet world anymore anyway. So I just don't. People just play games and try to line people up like they want to fight war, and then when it comes out, then you want to blame me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a chump. You know what I'm saying? I ain't blaming nobody unless it's true, and you did cause these problems, and everybody know that. I'm not a nice person. I told people that. You thought I was. I told you I wasn't. I don't have to be a nice person. I have to be a right person, a righteous person, not a nice person. I don't claim to be a nice person. You know what I'm saying? I claim to be a good person, a righteous person, but nice, I don't claim to be nice. That's what people take advantage of. Being nice and all of that. That's what people take advantage of. And nice is kind of like almost like it's not even a virtue. You notice it's not in the Bible to be nice. That's something you don't see in the Bible. Be nice. You don't see really scriptures that kind of point to. The Bible says be angry and sin not. So I'm just looking at that. So then even if you do find scriptures on being nice, there's also scriptures that talk about being angry, which means you're not held to being nice at all times. You're not held to being nice at all times. Right. Okay. So with that being said, you got to make sure that you're following God's way of thinking, the Word of God, not what seems right. What is real? Be what's real. Be what you need to be. Like, I don't claim to be a nice person. I claim to be a righteous person. You know what I mean? And there's some people that maybe feel they are a nice person. Okay, well, as long as I'm a righteous and good person, that's all I need to be. That's how you got to think. That's what you're held to. Nice, in the context that we talk about, the Bible says be angry and sin not. So that tells me that I don't have to be nice at all times. Or feel nice at all times. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so, some people just hold you to things that they think gonna stop you. They think that stuff gonna stop me. It's not. I know the context of what I'm talking about. See, and even if you could say being kind is being nice, but no, it's you gotta be able to understand, like, some people, kind and nice is almost two different things. Obviously, they're two different words. You gotta make sure you put things in proper definition. Like I explained, I'm not nobody's play toy. I proved it. I proved to Brooklyn right here, I'm nobody's play toy. And that's where we want a savior That's what we want to bask in. That's the lane we in. That's the energy we in. We not acting like anybody doing nothing to us today. They not seeing us today. They not seeing me today. You know, they not seeing me this morning. No, you're not. And if you think you are, you must be on crack. You not seeing me today. No, sir. No, sir. You ain't seeing me today. That's why we got to move on. And so understand that in these last days, you might need to just move on and take what come with it. Be willing to suffer, because that's the fruit of the Spirit. Long suffering. Be willing to suffer in order to do what God wants you to do and where He wants you to be. He might not want you around all these spirits, and He telling you that. He don't want you to be around all these homosexual spirits and all these gay spirits. It's time to go. It's time for you now to let God form a new path for you outside of this system of this world with all this gay stuff. And you got to let Him do it. He might send somebody to the streets, take you totally off the streets, take me totally off the streets. And I have me a place to stay. I got food. I might even have money in this situation. But you got to take that step of faith. You got to take that step of faith and move on. You know, people gonna hate it. Of course they gonna hate it, because now they can't play with you no more. Now they can't play the games they used to play. You know, now they're gonna be left to their own devices, and they're gonna want to die. And that's what's gonna happen. A lot of people gonna want to die when you leave them behind. When you leave them behind, they're gonna want to die. And hey, well, it's what it is. I don't have anything to do with that. I don't care about it. I'm too old to care. So in this video, which I've already done a video about this, but I just keep wanting to refresh this in the minds of the people about the offering as spiritual warfare. Like, it's not something I'm doing and making up stuff. Like, I'm just saying, I'm putting an offering out there and I'm saying, oh, well, you know, I hope that it attacks my enemy and stuff. So I want to show you that it's in the Bible that that an offering can be, an offering to God can be for the sole purpose of warfare. So I'm gonna read what I've been given about when I Googled with AI the offering as for warfare. This is what I got. In the Bible, physical warfare was often preceded or accompanied by specific offerings to secure divine favor, seek protection, or express total dependence on God. So in the Bible, physical warfare was often preceded by specific offerings to secure divine favor. So this is physical warfare, right? This is physical warfare. In physical warfare, in the Bible, physical warfare was often preceded by specific offerings to secure divine favor. So the offering was to secure divine favor, and it's people that would think that God is just going to do what He's going to do. God, whether I do it or not, God gonna still be in control. See, first thing you got to realize is how proactive you have to be in spiritual warfare. If you have this superstitious folklore kind of attitude that, well, what God is gonna do, God is gonna do, then what would be the need for you to have faith? What would be the need for you to have faith? What would be the need for you to pray? Or even fast? If you see what I'm saying, what would be the need for you to do that if God just gonna do what He gonna do? You wouldn't even need to pray with this mentality, because God gonna do what He gonna do for you, and you don't need to pray. So what's the point of praying then? That's what I'm trying to show you. It's some people that don't know, and people got different measurements of this same perspective, that God's just gonna do what He gonna do anyway, so I don't really need to do too much. So what's the point of doing anything then, if you don't supposed to play any position? You know, so but you do have to play a position. You have to play. You have to be proactive in spiritual warfare to destroy these people. And you know, I'm doing what I gotta do. I'm on my job. You know, but I'm just trying to show you, like, you know, you're gonna get the victory. You're gonna win if you realize, if you come to terms with how it really is in the Bible. You must play a position of being proactive in spiritual war. When you're proactive in spiritual war, you will see that your life is better. You get more results. You're winning. You're defeating your enemies. Like, I'm defeating my enemies. They got to be smoking crack to think they winning. So, but I pay the price. I fast when nobody else don't want to fast. I give offerings when everybody want to eat pizza and eat chips and eat cookies. And you know, I fast when everybody else is sitting back. And this is how you have to be. This is how you have to be. If you're not like this, you will sit back with this old school folklore perspective, is that we just sitting back waiting for God to do everything. And that's not biblical. Anytime you look in the Bible, God's servants were doing things, right? They were doing things. They wasn't just sitting back saying, oh, well, you know, God's just going to do what He want to do. That's not even how it works. So you got to tear down all this way of thinking that you just sit back. It's not biblical. Anytime you look in the Bible, it's always understood. When you read, you will see the servant play a certain position. Every time. Not just, oh, I'm going to sit back and wait. And what God gonna do is what God gonna do. This type of Christianity is why people don't even think they need to fast. Why they don't live a life of being proactive and fasting and giving offerings. Because they just think that God just gonna do what He wanna do. So that's not biblical. That's what I'm trying to show you. You have to be proactive in your situation. And that's why some people's lives are better than others. That's why, because some people are more proactive. It's just common sense to me. If you're proactive about your situation is going to be better. With every step that you make, your situation is going to be better. Okay? So when you give the offering as spiritual warfare, you will see that your enemies will be defeated. They will not listen, bro. I just sent $4 million to Vietnam. And I'm not bragging. I'm showing you from example. I'm being an example, right? I'm leading by an example. I've sent $4 million over there. People don't know that's about to take off today, right? Because I sent that Thursday, right? That's going to be today into tomorrow, where that money now is going to Vietnam. You think it already happened? How it already happened? It ain't got there yet. Trouble is ahead for these people. And so you got to stay in a posture. I just sent money to Japan. So while I'm waiting, I sent money to Japan Tuesday. So what's that? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 5 days ago, I sent money to Japan. Tokyo, Japan. See, they can't even keep up with what I'm doing. I sent money to Mexico and Japan. 2 places in Mexico. I sent money to 2 places in Mexico and Japan 5 days ago. That's going on right now. That's active right now. While I'm waiting for the offering to get to Vietnam. It's already, that's why I'm going with what I feel. You know what I mean? When God tell you to move on, you know, that's part of the harvest. For you to, that's part of the direction from all the giving that I'm doing. Now I know what I gotta do. I know God don't want me around these spirits. He don't want me around none of these gay and lesbian spirits or transsexual and anything else kind of spirit that ain't heterosexual. He don't want me around this. Okay? So I move on. I'm a soldier. I'm a full-time soldier. I'm already on a tour anyway. So for me to be on the streets is just like a tour anyway. As in terms of militarily speaking, it's like a tour. So, I'm not worried. I'm going to have what I need. I'm making the proper steps. I'm preparing properly. I'm preparing properly. See, I got plenty of time to prepare and think about other things I got to do, think about other things along the way, and for angels to start clearing out where I'm going and start moving all kind of spirits out my way. And so that's going on right now. That's another reason to fast. So it's everything's going great for me. I'm telling you, I have no complaints. I'm so happy with everything that's going on over there in the Middle East and all this stuff going on in America. Listen, let me take time to say I'm grateful to God. I am grateful to the Lord for what's happening to these Americans. Let me take time to make that clear. Through all my videos, all these little videos I'm doing, I want it to be clear to God. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing to these people, because they deserve it. They deserve what they're getting. I praise God for real. Yahweh. I praise Yahweh for bringing judgment on these people. And so we doing great. Let's not make no mistake about that. Let's not be focused on the little things these people do for attention. We not worried about none of that no more. If they playing psychological games, the level up is that you don't care no more. You can live with a bad thought, right? Okay, so then that's all it is. At best, it's a bad thought, right? Okay, you can't live with a bad thought. I don't care what it consists of. I can. Especially with all they doing. Of course I can. Okay, so, I'm just saying, that's the safety net just in case. I don't care about nothing that crosses my mind. I'm thinking about reality in real time. That's what I'm thinking about. So we're on the next level where these people are not relevant no more, and some very surprising things are about to happen. They trying their best to slow it down. They trying their best to pray about this and use witchcraft to stop what's going on. It's not going to work. It's not. They can try all they can to prevent this, but all it's going to do is backfire, and it's going to backfire in a major way, because I'm pretty sure these people using witchcraft to try to stop this. They're all joining together. Listen what I'm saying. They all joining together using witchcraft to try to prevent the war with Iran and America. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work, because that energy is going to backfire. And when it backfires, it's going to destroy it. It's going to be destruction everywhere. They can't stop it. That's why we got to fast against them trying to prevent this from happening. So now America is flipped around to where they rely on witchcraft prayers and witchcraft to protect them. They can't rely on God because they did us too dirty. Okay, so they're not really relying on prayer because they did God's people too wrong. They're depending on witchcraft prayers and prayers of witchcraft for protection over this country in Iran, and trying to sabotage that situation where there's peace and white witches trying to bring peace. It's not going to work. It's going to all backfire because they really want to stop us. And as long as that is in your heart, but you're trying to stop stuff from happening over there in the Middle East, it ain't going to stop, because your heart ain't totally clean. And God see that. As long as you want his people to be in confusion, then you're going to have confusion all throughout your country and the Middle East. Okay? So we're rebuking all the witchcraft prayers to protect this country. And so that these people get what they deserve. Okay? We're going to keep giving offerings. My next step is Egypt. I sent money out to Egypt not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago or something like that. And I'm sending more money out to Egypt. I'm going to go back to Vietnam. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this until to it collapse, to it's no more. And even when we do go, I'm saying this just in case you have to do it. When you go to the streets, you still listen. Your fasting is what that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get your game up in fasting. You're gonna get your game up in fasting instead of the offering. Obviously, when you're on the streets, you ain't gonna have an offering, right? That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. You're gonna get You're gonna get the fast. You're gonna fast, and then on your birthday, if you come from a traditional family, you got loved ones, people that love you. They're gonna throw you some money on your birthday. You use that as the offering. Your birthday, any other times they send you money during the holidays or whatever, you use that as the offering. That's what I'm gonna be doing. See, because my birthday is in May, so I'm gonna be leaving around that time. So I'm gonna get money that same, which is good. You see where I'm going with this? I'm gonna go to the streets and get money that same month. That's gonna work out perfectly. So even though I'm gonna have to go to the streets and I ain't gonna have this cash that I got now to depend on, I'm gonna have a great offering that I'll be able to send for my birthday money. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be able to have that money for my birthday money, and I'm gonna be able to have an offering with my birthday money. That's my next move once I go, down south, and I'm gonna probably send that to Vietnam once again. I'm gonna send that to Vietnam probably. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm gonna probably do. Colombia and Colombia, South America, and Vietnam. Those two probably. Yeah, those two probably. And so it's all about this understanding, not what we feel. As a mature Christian, the first thing you have to do is get rid of all the folklore, all the traditional stuff you heard growing up about Christianity, stuff you learned from your parents, stuff you learned from your family, stuff you learned from Americans. You gotta just completely get a clean slate, because a lot of times what people taught you is still these philosophies and folklore is still what you use, you know what I'm saying, in your walk with God. And you got to make sure, okay, I'm not following no traditions, I'm not following nothing from religion, I'm not following nothing, right? And so I'm doing what I got to do based on the word of God. And it doesn't matter if it looks pretty to people. It doesn't matter if it seems correct. It doesn't matter if it seems nice. We don't care what it seems like. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, that's why I'm telling you, be key on about that being nice stuff, because the bottom line is sometimes God's people got to go to war. We got to go to war, and that's basically what it is. Like it says right here in the Bible, physical warfare was often preceded by specific offerings. Physical warfare, meaning when God's people went into physical war, because there's physical wars in the Bible. So there's some Christians that do not come to terms with the fact that God's people fought physical wars. They'll read it a million times, but they read the Bible like it's a cartoon. So you gotta let them miss you. You can't worry about them, because their mind is stuck on cartoon world when they read the Bible, like they in Sunday school, and you are putting it into the real world, into your situation, and you can't afford to be destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because it don't seem nice according to American Christianity. You have to follow the Bible wholeheartedly and realize it with a common sense approach, like you ain't brainwashed, right? So you're not brainwashed, so you realize there's real wars in the Bible. It's not a figment of your imagination. There's real wars in the Bible, right? There's real wars in the Bible, right? Okay. So because there's real wars in the Bible, then you realize, okay, I could possibly be in a real war. If God's people in the Bible was in a real war, I possibly could be in a real war myself. you got to leave the door open for that possibility. You can't act like nothing ain't gonna happen. And see, many people, the reason why you think like that is because you have been used to the Americans protecting you, the National Guard and all of them people protecting you. Okay, that's why you think you ain't got to do nothing. Like, you get conformed, you form a whole new Christianity that where you exclude the whole possibility of fighting a physical war, which is not reality. Sometimes that's why God's people even had to fight war, because sometimes it's reality. That's what it is. It's not whether we want to be cool and do it or not. It's like some people act like that's what it is with you, but it's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of, and that's when you have to realize, okay, I'm in my own lane. It's a matter of life and death for me. I got to get it in. I can't keep playing with these people. I got to get it in. This is what it is. I'm not playing any games. Okay? You know, people feel like losers. They want to play what they like. That's you. I'm not doing that. Okay? So you realize it's a matter of life and death. You get it in. You stay alert. And you ain't playing no games with people. It's just what it is. You know, so it's just a no bull crap approach. I keep a no bull crap policy on deck all the time. I have a no bull crap policy. You know what I'm saying? Some people do, some people don't. Am I just serious all the time? No. You can see many times through these videos, I have a great sense of humor, but I have a balance too. I'm a balanced person. You know, if people playing in my face, then I'm gonna take care of my business. It's that simple. And if you're a clown and you see me as a clown, because you a clown. You see through the lenses of a clown. You see through the shades of a clown. Okay, so you can't see me for who I am. And meanwhile, I got numbers, so it ain't like you can't take me seriously. You're trying to save face by not taking me seriously. That's what it is. And I'm smart enough to know that's what it is with you. You're trying to save face by not taking me seriously. Okay? I know you don't think I'm going to turn around and take you seriously. I hope you don't. I hope you don't, buddy. Because it ain't nobody here in this country I really take seriously. Like, as far as the things that we got going on and how things really are, I know you don't think I take you seriously. For what? For what reason? For what reason? In the Bible, physical warfare was often preceded by specific offerings to secure divine favor, seek protection, or express total dependence on God. The burnt offering was the most common sacrifice used during times of war. So during times of war, the most common sacrifice was the burnt offering. See, it was a certain offering. What I'm trying to show you, God's people back in the day was no game. They did what they had to do. They had certain offerings for times of war. Real war, they had offerings. They wasn't just sitting back like, oh well, God gonna do everything. See, that's how modern Christians in America would approach things, like God just gonna do everything. The prophets in the Bible, they had things they did. They did things. They had burnt offerings as the most common sacrifice used during times of war. They didn't sit back and just think, oh well, God just gonna be with us. They was proactive, and that's what I'm trying to get you to be. What I'm trying to get you to see is, you're not the first set of God's people. You're not the first generation. In other words, God has had many people that went through this rugged world through war, through real wars, and he accepted the principle of giving him an offering during war. So why wouldn't he do that with you? If he accepted the principle of giving an offering for warfare reasons to win the wars, why wouldn't he do that with you when you offer up an offering using the same rules and regulations? He will do the same thing. He will honor your offering. So You have to understand this is a rule and this is a regulation. It's a rule and regulation. And why wouldn't God honor an offering during times of war? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he why wouldn't he accept it when you need God's protection and you need God to favor you just like God's people did in the Bible? You need the same thing, right? See, you just been around religious people. Now you realize it's so many principles that I can work that I haven't been working. And you're either working the principles or you're not. And that's why you got to get away from people that's religious. You got to get away from them and run as far as the east is the west from them. Because you are working principles. You are working real principles. Like people in the Bible. That's how serious we are. Other people are corny. They never gave God no time. They never tried to live for God. That's not who we are. We serious about our walk with God. So, we realize that we can offer up an offering. We can offer up an offering. And things change in this war. So the burnt offering was the most common sacrifice used during times of war. Because the animal was entirely consumed by fire, this is the burnt offering. So they burned the whole animal. It symbolized total surrender and devotion to God. Total surrender. Totally engulfed with surrendering to God's will. So the burnt offering was the most common sacrifice used during times of war. Where they would burn an animal as a burnt offering to God during times of war, depending on God. So see, you gonna need God in times of war, right? Right. What can you do to show your faith? Because that's what this was about. What can you do to show your faith? You give a financial offering, not a burnt offering. You can't go burn an animal. You could, but don't you think the Lord is going to realize what's more precious to you than an animal? It's going to be your money. And you give that offering during times of war with the same expectation of people in the Bible that offered an offering during times of war as a principle, expecting God to give them divine favor and protection, and you depending on God in times of war, which means he's going to do something if you depending on him. So the financial offering is, in this case, in the modern day and time, it's going to be the most common sacrifice for us to offer during times of war. That's what I'm doing. I'm offering offerings as offerings in times of war. Not, oh, well, I hope I be blessed with a car. I hope I be blessed with something else. Nah, not confused about it. See, they wasn't confused about what the offering was for. This offering was for specific reasons, and there was no confusion. They were focused. People in the Bible were focused. They knew that they was in war, and they was giving offerings to win the wars. I'm showing you that it's biblical. This is biblical. This is not a matter of like me doing something cute and just throwing money in the mailbox and I'm just being cute thinking God. See, this is real. Now you realize I'm not sitting back thinking God just like maybe he'll help me or no, I can be definitely confident that if this principle was in the Bible, then God will honor me doing the same thing. Specifically giving an offering for times of war. See, this is more advanced when it comes to spiritual warfare, because people will tell you to fast during spiritual warfare, but they will not tell you to give the offering. You will find many preachers won't tell you to give the offering because people still haven't come to terms with the fact that a financial offering is legit. It's not fraudulent. It's not trying to buy a miracle. Okay, I mean, when they offered up the offering in the Bible, were they trying to buy a miracle? When they had the burnt offering in the Bible, this is the burnt offering for times of war. When they put the burnt offering before God, was they trying to buy a miracle? They gave offerings. Okay, so it's in the Bible. It's a principle in the Bible, right? Okay, so then I could say, with your mentality, you could say how you feel about God's people giving God a burnt offering to win the war. You feel like it's foolishness, right? Because you don't understand spirituality. See, people don't understand how to make money work in spirituality. That's it right there. That's 7 out. People don't know how to make money work in spirituality on God's side. I'm showing you that that offerings was in the Bible. So releasing tangible things, releasing tangible material things as an offering to God is a biblical principle. It's a principle. And with a principle, you understand, right, what's going on, right? You understand what the principle is. The principle is I give God something for him, to show my faith and dependency on him. And he's honored that in the Bible. So why wouldn't he honor it with me? Because you don't have enough faith. See that part? You don't have enough faith to work the same principles in the Bible. No, that's it. That's it right there. That's it right there. Let me tell you what your problem is. You lack faith. Because when you realize you can work the same scriptures, you can work the same principles, you now are activating your faith. And some people haven't done it. You haven't activated your faith. Well, if you have faith, you believe you can work the same principles. And God will work for you. God will work on your behalf. And so the burnt offering was the most common sacrifice used during times of war. So you see, God's people were spiritual. They went to war. They said they went and made a burnt offering to God. They ain't just say a little prayer like, oh, we're going to just pray and then now we're going to go into war. No, they gave God offerings. And God responded. See what I'm saying? So I don't try to make up a new system. I just go with what it is. I'm not trying to buck the system. I go with what it is. If this is the way it works, guess what? I'm all on board for it. That's how you got to be. Anything you read in the Bible, you got to be like this. If it works, I'm all on board for it. Okay? Whether you feel like it makes sense to you or not, you gotta walk by faith. If God's people was offering up offerings in the Bible, then I'm not gonna try to buck the system and act like I can do something else. If this is what's working, then that's what I'm going with. If this is what God acknowledged to in times of war for him to move on their behalf, listen, I'm going with what works. That's it. I'm going with what works. I'm not going to try to say, oh, well, I'm going to just sit back. See what I'm saying? I'm going with the word of God. See, people will say they go with the word of God, but then you're not going all the way with the whole word of God. And that's what you got to look at. Am I going all the way with the word of God when it comes time in my history of my life, in where I'm living, where I need real answers? I need real stuff done. Am I going with what my feelings tell me to do, or am I going with the real Bible? See, you got to have faith to work this Bible. You got to have faith to work the principles in the Bible. And some people don't have faith. They in sin. You can't listen to a sinner. They don't have no faith. You can't listen to somebody not living right. They don't have no faith. That's what I'm saying. You got to live. You got to remember, faith ain't all one level. You got different levels of faith. So where is your faith? What level is your faith on? Check yourself. What level is your faith on? Do you really believe that God can beat these Americans? That's my level of faith. My level of faith, God's kingdom can beat these Americans. Is that what you believe? Or you looking at all they doing to these other countries and you getting intimidated? You done kind of fell back. I don't care what they doing to other countries. This is God's kingdom. God can overcome these people. God can overtake these people. So there's different levels of faith. We don't all have the same faith. In fact, the Bible, you can do this in your own time, study this on your own time. It says every man is given a measure of faith. So everybody doesn't have the same level of faith. That's why you cannot let nobody disturb your level of faith. It's for a reason. God gave you that measure of faith to get your job done in the earth. And the next person beside you might not have even 10% of that kind of faith. And you cannot let no one disturb your faith. You see where you at? You have to stand alone when it comes to your faith. Sometimes people do not have the same belief in God that you do. Or the highest level where God can take care of all of this stuff. They don't really believe that. They have no actions, no corresponding actions. The Bible says faith without works is dead. So they don't have faith in works to show their faith. See, we don't let nobody act like, because you've seen a couple con men on the TV. You've seen a couple con men on TV that manipulated the scriptures. That means that there's no offerings in the Bible that is valid. There's no valid offerings. Well, then what is this? What I'm reading about the burnt offerings in the Bible that the servants of God offered during times of war. It was valid. Okay, so then even though you see this con man on TV, you realize, he manipulated something in the Bible that was real concerning the offering. So then I got to push him aside and realize he had a real principle. He just tried to manipulate it. But the principle was real, because when I go in the Bible, I see that the offering is real in the Bible. Okay, so see, that's where you can't let the devil spoil your faith. Okay, because this con man is on TV, don't got nothing to do with this word, the Bible. This Bible shows me the offering is real. Okay, so then I can't pay attention to this con man that tried to use it as a hustle. Okay, he tried to use it as a hustle, but that don't mean the principle is not real. You see what I'm saying? Because what the sinners would do is focus on the con man and then take and say the principle ain't real. But if this is where you get smart, if it wasn't real, how would he be able to use the Bible and get money? How would he be able to get money substantially, and all these churches get money, if it wasn't a real principle in there? No, I want you to think deeper. If it wasn't a real principle, how can these people be getting money like that? Because they can show you in the Bible. That's what's going to make you believe it. They're going to show you, this con is going to show you it's right here. It's right here in the Bible. He going to show you. He going to say it's right here. The problem is he or she got other issues where their heart is not to serve the Lord. They're not also talking about salvation. They're not talking about getting people saved. See what I'm saying? When you give to a church, you got to make sure they trying to get people saved. See, I'm in war mode. God knows what mode I'm in. But, when you give an offering to a church You have to make sure that they preaching salvation. Every time I give to a church, I make sure they believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I make sure they believe in reaching souls, and they believe in the full Word of God. Once they believe in the full Word of God, they believe in reaching souls, they believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's it right there. That's the foundation. And that's where you give. That's where you give the offering to. Look at it as a soldier. You have the right to use any military base because we won military. So if you need this church right here as a military base to launch missiles at the Americans that are against you, then you can use any military base. You don't even get hung up on them. You don't even have to listen to the messages. This is how radical you got to be. You don't even need to listen to the church messages. Like you need to now subscribe and listen to the messages. No. You give consistently. You know that's a place where you shooting spiritual missiles from, and you're bringing spiritual warfare consistently to these ministries, and you don't have to listen to their message. The only foundation you need is that they believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. They believe in saving souls, and they believe in the whole Bible. I'm saying you ain't got to sit down and listen to every message after that. Once you start giving to them. This is another level of spiritual warfare when you realize I'm doing God's work. I'm helping. You can be nice, friendly, do a prayer request, be cordial with them, all that good stuff, and that's what's gonna come. But ultimately, you are about your Father's business. You're in spiritual warfare. So you just dropping the offering and you're moving forward. And then you might have other people you listen to. You might not be able to listen to them because they ain't got no messages anyway. Then what? In many cases, I give outside the country. They ain't got videos anyway. So what I supposed to do? You can't get hung up on, well, I'm going to give there because I can hear a message. You know, people will actually say that. That's what I'm saying. You gotta realize you are in spiritual warfare and you are using the offering like people did in the Bible. This is what we don't have rituals, but this is our spiritual principles. You see what I'm saying? You looking and you seeing the service of God and what they did, and that's what you're gonna go with. Significance in war. Back to the burnt offering. Significance in war. It was offered to gain the Lord's favor or as an act of atonement before a military campaign. It was offered to gain the Lord's favor for war, or as an act of atonement before a military campaign, which means it was an offering for sin, so that they good and clean before they go into war. Key example. It gives an example. When the Philistines attacked Israel at Mizpah, the prophet Samuel offered a whole burnt offering when they was dealing with the Philistines. When the Philistines attacked Israel at Mizpah, the prophet Samuel offered a whole burnt offering. Right? The prophet, see? The prophet's on point. That's why you have to listen to the prophet. The prophet Samuel offered a whole burnt offering. The Bible records that God then, this is what happened after that. The Bible records that God then thundered with a loud thunder against the Philistines, leading to an Israelite victory. So let's read it again. When the Philistines attacked Israel at Mizpah, the prophet Samuel offered a whole burnt offering. So when they was attacked, the prophet responded by offering a burnt offering to God, not just a prayer. You can't fast. It's too late to fast. See, Do you see what I'm talking about with this? The offering is different when it comes to a time frame. You might not have 2-3 weeks to fast. You might need to give the offering and something needs to happen in the next couple of days. The offering is a quicker attack many times, obviously, because, okay, you give the offering and it's almost instantaneous. Once you release it, right? It starts right then as soon as you release it. The effects of it, the spiritual effects starts when it leaves your hand. I start expecting it when it leaves my hand, right? Okay, so the prophet gave a burnt offering when Israel was attacked. As a response, this shows you that it works. The Bible records that God then thundered with a loud thunder against the Philistines, leading to an Israelite victory. And if you want to look that up, that's 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, 7 through 10. 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, 7 through 10. And we can go ahead and look that up. I got some time. Yeah, I got some time. So I'm showing you like how God leads me as a prophet. He don't have me talking for no reason. You know what I'm saying? I don't make up messages. And you know what I'm saying? This is the Bible. And see, people will think you rinky dink and you playing games. Nah, well, how? How, bro? It's right there in the Bible. Okay, so that's 7 through 10. First Samuel. Oh, I did that the last time. That's funny. The L on Samuel, how I wrote it, looks like I put 17. It's actually 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter. The 7th through the 10th verses. So it's 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter, the 7th through the 10th verses. When the Philistines heard that the Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, the Philistines' rulers came to attack Israel. The Israelites heard about the Philistine plan and were afraid of them. The Israelites said to Samuel, "Don't turn a deaf ear to us. Don't stop crying to the Lord our God for us. Ask him to save us from the Philistines." Then Samuel took a lamb. This is what he did. The Israelites were scared of the Philistines. This is what the prophet did in response to what Israel said. Then Samuel took a lamb, one still feeding on milk, and sacrificed it as a burnt offering to the Lord. Samuel cried to the Lord on behalf of Israel, and the Lord answered him. So this is how God responded. You know, and some people might think it's cruel. I don't think it's cruel. I think it's different levels of kingdoms. The human kingdom is above the animal kingdom. We eat the food, or we eat animals all the time. Okay, so then you eat animals. You don't think, you know, you think it's cruel to, which is crueler, to offer up an animal to God or to eat an animal? I mean, you know, I'm just saying, because, you know, some people might get hung up on that part. But then Samuel took a lamb, one still feeding on milk, and sacrificed it as a burnt offering to the Lord. Samuel cried to the Lord on behalf of Israel, And the Lord answered him. When Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines came to fight against Israel. On that day, the Lord thundered loudly at the Philistines and threw them into such confusion that they were defeated by Israel. So it was because of the offering God responded. Okay? Because in how we know, it says, and the Lord answered him. Samuel cried to the Lord on the behalf of Israel, and the Lord answered him. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, this is not a fake, a cool message. This is principle. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines came to fight against Israel. On that day, the Lord thundered loudly at the Philistines and threw them into such confusion that they were defeated by Israel. So Samuel took a lamb, one still feeding on milk, and sacrificed it as a burnt offering. He sacrificed it as a burnt offering to the Lord. Okay? He didn't just cry to the Lord, he offered up the burnt offering. Samuel cried to the Lord on the behalf of Israel, and the Lord answered him. When Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines came to fight against Israel. On that day, the Lord thundered loudly at the Philistines and threw them into such confusion that they were defeated by Israel. That's 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter, the 7th through the 10th verses. That's what you look up. And that's foundational principle that shows you what God does, how God responds to his servants. So why would he not respond to you? People say the Old Testament, listen, let me explain something. People that say Old Testament, it doesn't script, there are principles, most of the principles still apply from the Old Testament. Most of the principles still apply from the Old Testament. Jesus Christ the Messiah became the ultimate sacrifice for sins. Through people that are uneducated will think that everything was done away with from the Old Testament because Jesus Christ the Messiah offered himself as a sacrifice. That is not to say that all the principles, because Jesus Christ died for our sins, right? Okay, that's what that was for, right? That's what the sacrifice was for. So that deals with offerings for sin, right? But offerings for war is still valid. You can't, because it's a principle. How I know it's still valid? Because you still have a need, right? Okay, so then are you going through another need? We're talking outside of sin in the offering for sin, right? We're talking outside of offering up offerings for sin. We're now talking about other principles in the Bible. Don't you still have the need that you have, right? Just like they did in the Old Testament. So then why would God take away the principle? That's how you know. It's not, besides thinking Old Testament, New Testament, the principle is, why would God take it away from you? Because Jesus Christ was the ultimate sacrifice. God in the flesh was the ultimate sacrifice, right? Okay, so you learn to think clearly and understand what it was. Now, the other principles, why would God, how do you think God now, how would God handle it differently? the same principle is there, right? The same principle would be there. Not to say that because Jesus Christ died for our sins that he can't, that doesn't help in spiritual warfare. Of course it does. But do you think that because of the sacrifice that we don't use the principle to go into for war? Come on. We still use these other principles. That was for our sins that Jesus Christ offered up himself. Okay, so what blinds people is what young Christians will do, whether they're old in age or not, whether they're physically old in age or not. They'll say that's the Old Testament. Do you know they even got a slang and formal thing to say that's the Old Testament? That's the old. And as far as what? Two things, the only thing you could be talking about, which is the food that we eat, whether it's shellfish and all this different stuff. You only most likely are going to be referencing to the food that we eat or offerings for sins, which Jesus Christ the Messiah covered. And now we know, well, Paul said in the New Testament that now all food could be prayed over, and it's and I'm paraphrasing, and it is basically profitable. All food is good. So that's the difference. Those are the two things. Now, all the other principles, you just use spiritual common sense and realize that those things still apply. There's a whole bunch of principles that still apply. And see, where people become destroyed for a lack of knowledge is you don't go back to the Old Testament and get the rest of the principles. See, that's the punchline. You don't go back to the Old Testament and get all the principles, all these good principles you could work to get victory in spiritual warfare, and then ain't no way you can tell me that God wouldn't honor it. Why wouldn't he? God is a good God. Why wouldn't he honor you giving an offering like the Old Testament? Why wouldn't he? That's what I'm saying, bro. Why wouldn't he? See, we got to make sure we're not being religious, man. We got to make sure. See, religion, let me help you understand what religion is. Religion, in the definition I coined for religion, is any way but the God way. Any way you're trying to do things outside of God's way. That's religion. You can make up a religion today and choose to do things your way. That's what makes it religion. You can make up a religion. You can make up a religion where you center Christ as your center for your religion, but you're not doing it as the Bible tells you to do it. Okay, so that's religion anytime you do it other than the way God told you to do it. That's to see how deceived people get. You could be following a religion that centers Jesus Christ as the center, right? And you get deceived that because Jesus is the center of this religion, that this is the right religion or the right principles and teachings. You have many Jesus religions, and even Jehovah religions with the Jehovah Witness. That's a Jehovah religion. But common sense tell you if the Bible is the most popular book or religion to follow, then obviously there's going to be a whole bunch of different sects and religions within Christianity. So you got to make sure that it's not just that you don't follow traditional gospel or traditional churches, but that you also don't do it any other way than what God wants you to do it. Because that's religion too. Religion is just doing it any wrong way. That's when you form another religion. Just as no different than the religions that God didn't want us to follow in the Bible, because they wasn't doing it his way. You could do that even as a Christian. You could start making up your own religion. That's why I'm so big on proving it with the Bible. That's why I'm so big on bringing it back to the Word of God. Because when you do that, okay, now you can't say I'm making up a religion. But soon as you do not acknowledge the Bible, you're leaving bits and pieces out. You begin to create a religion, leaving out some of the Bible. That's what I'm showing you. You got to make sure you're not creating. You got to be very careful. See, one thing about it, I can make more mistakes on my own, right? But when it comes to talking about this word and talking about God, listen, I'm going to back it up with the word of God every time. Now, me on my own, I could be carnal and make mistakes with my mouth. And that's what people will do. You could make mistakes saying the wrong things, being sinful. And I'm just being real. But when it comes to the most dangerous part is when it comes to what you teach other people out this Bible and what you leave out. That's a dangerous thing because you're teaching other people that. Now you can say you're teaching other people with how you live your life. That's true. But come on, let's don't be so smart we stupid. You know the difference between excluding some of the Bible and me teaching somebody with my life. It's a difference. Because that person should be following the Bible. To know better when you making mistakes. I don't tell nobody to follow me. You follow Jesus. You don't follow me. You follow the word of God. Okay? But we can't let people go to the extremes when they not living right themselves. You see what I'm saying? That's why for America, you do not, let me tell you this, and I'm glad I'm interjecting this right now. You do not let America judge you by spiritual judging standards when they're marrying children. That's what a righteous man gonna tell you. That's done. You can't judge nobody because you contradict yourself doing the same details that you talk about. So ain't no way in the world we gonna let you judge us. You see what I'm saying? Now you see the context of what I'm talking about. When we look at by principle, you out here marrying children, literally. We do not, therefore, you are not our judges anymore. We do not submit to you. I do not submit to a man that marries children and tells me about a pedophile, or his little community telling me about a pedophile. His little community can't do nothing with me because your little community didn't know y'all marrying children. Okay, come on, listen, buddy, let me tell you something. Your little community didn't know in America y'all was marrying children, did they? Come on, man, listen, bro. You can't judge us. You're not worthy. You're not qualified. See, that's how you will be told from a prophet as I am, from a real prophet from the Old Testament or from the Bible. How would he let you judge him and he turn around and see y'all marrying children? That's how simple it would be, and it would be over with like that. Because he would see by principle you marrying children. So then that would be in your laws. He gonna just point right to the laws and it's over. Case closed. It will be that quick. And ain't nothing nobody could say. That's why I try to listen. I don't wake up playing games. See, some people wake up playing games, bruh. The second offering was the peace and fellowship offerings. The shalom offerings. I think that's what it's SHELEM, shalom, right? But it says I see sometimes I see it pronounced shalom, or this says shalem though. But so this is the peace and fellowship offering. These offerings were unique because they were shared as a meal between the priests, the people, and God. These offerings were unique because they were shared as a meal between the priests, the people and God. In a military context, they were often used to celebrate a victory or to seek peace after a conflict. So here's another offering that was incorporated into times of war: the peace and fellowship offerings. These offerings were unique because they were shared as a meal between the priests, the people, and God. In a military context, they were offered. In a military context, they were often used to celebrate a victory or to seek peace after a conflict. So this was the peace and fellowship offering. And this happened to celebrate a victory or to seek peace after a conflict. So to celebrate a victory, they would have the peace and fellowship offering, or to seek peace after a conflict, to have peace back in the atmosphere and among the people, among the ranks of the people. They would offer up a peace and fellowship offering. Okay? And it was shared between the priests, the people, and God. So they had a portion that they offered to God, which obviously solidifies it as an offering. And so in military context, they were often used to celebrate a victory or to seek peace after a conflict. Now, here's the significance in war when it comes to the peace and fellowship offerings. They focused on restoring or celebrating the covenant relationship with God. So it focused on restoring or celebrating the covenant relationship with God. So it focused on restoring or celebrating the covenant relationship with God. So that's another offering. What I'm trying to show you is there was offerings around the war. It wasn't just war, and you don't have to do things. There was spiritual principles that they followed during war when it was a time of war. Let me interject this. One of the first things you have to qualify first for this to work properly for you and for me is that we signify and qualify what is a war. We qualify what's a war. Okay? A war is when there's a significant number of people against you. And it don't matter what they talking about. It don't matter what they say. They think it's a game. It's not a game. It's a war. When they use a significant amount of people against you, that is a war. Okay? It don't matter. You don't need everybody to agree with it. You don't need everybody to feel you like this is hip hop or the streets. All you need is to bring before God a significant number of people that is against you, and that's a war. Long as it has to, listen, this is what qualifies it. As long as it is a significant amount of people against you physically, that is a war. That's it. That's a war. Okay, so then while everybody else is tripping and acting like it's a ghetto game and a ghetto party, you have qualified this before God as a war. That's what I've already done. That's why we're here. That's why, all this stuff is happening. We already in position. See, you thought along the way I was like a rapper and I'm trying to be bad like you was. No, I came in like a soldier and qualified this as a war, and that's it. All I needed was a significant number of people, and I didn't even need black people to agree with me. I didn't need America to agree with me. I didn't need Hispanic or Latinos or anybody else. You think I need you to agree with me? I don't. All I need for God to be on my side is for me to see a significant number of people that is against me. If it was 2 people, that would be different. If it was 5 or 10 people, when you see hundreds of people in position, that's a war. They thought they was being cute. That's what I'm saying. Like I like to say, nobody does anything if they don't think it's cute. Anything you do, you think is cute, right? Okay, so most people do things they think is cute, right? Okay, so they thought it was cute, most likely, to bring all these people against us. They thought they was being cute. They thought they was being bad. All you did was give me legal spiritual right to declare this as a war, and that's it. That's it. While you was being cute, I declared it as a war, and that's the difference, little buddy. And that's why everything turned into a war, and now you get it. That's why the whole atmosphere turned into a war. That's why this whole thing is a war zone now, because all we had to do is get a significant number of people that opposed us long enough, consistently enough, that part too. When it's significant people, when it's a significant number of people, the next step is how consistently are this consistent number of people, this significant number of people, how long are they against you? How long are they opposing you? When the next step is to see that they have been against you consistently. A significant amount of people, and not in all cases, because in some cases it may not be months and months. They might just try to attack you, and you see a significant amount of people against you, and you need that done like in a couple weeks, right? Okay, so, but in most cases, what's really going to get, how you really know God is on your side is when there has been a significant amount of people against you for a consistent amount of time. You telling me that ain't a war? In other words, even if they clowns, that don't matter. A war means I respond with war. A war means I'm going to respond with war. So when I say it's a war, that means on my behalf. They could be clowns. They could be complete clowns, and that's how they're going to play it. It don't matter if they play it like that. God is not going to see it like that. God is going to come in and see that you had a consistent number of people against this person, and you were consistently against him for X amount of time. That's all it's going to take to declare a war response against them. And that's that. You don't come in and do nothing else. That's all you got to do. So while everybody else is tripping like this is a ratchet ghetto game, you have declared it as a war. That's why I'm moving like this. What else you think it is? That's what it is. Once I see a significant amount of people against me for a consistent amount of time, it's a war, which means I'm going to respond with warfare. I'm not sitting up thinking this is a reality show and me and you going to be divas. And we going to go back and forth like divas. I'm not thinking that. I'm going to see a significant amount of people against me, and I'm going to see them consistently against me for X amount of time, and it's a war. And guess what? God is going to declare it a war whether they like it or not. Now that's the God I serve. That's why you got to get in the Bible for yourself. Not just listening to me. That's the God I serve. God ain't gonna let no significant amount of people be against you. And be doing it for, and them significant amount of people be against you for a significant amount of time, and that not be declared as a war. See, you just not used to it being here in America. That's all it is. You've been here in America and you're not used to declaring war. That's it. But now times have changed where you got all these gay people that you haven't been watching, and they've been spawning this idea that you the enemy as Christians. I'm telling you how things changed. This is how things changed. They start smoking weed and drinking and doing witchcraft, and you wasn't paying attention. You didn't know all this stuff was going on. What was presented to you was gang stalking and witchcraft from months and months and years of people getting high and drinking and having gay sex and lesbian sex, and they decided to hate you. Okay? But that's the energy that they conjured up over time, and that's how America changed on you and me. Over time, they sitting around having gay and lesbian sex, smoking weed and drinking, working witchcraft. They decided to hate you in the middle of that energy, in the middle of that period of time. They made you the enemy. You see why? You see what happened, right? Okay. Even though you wasn't preventing them to do anything, it wasn't like you got in the middle of their bed and they gay bed, did you? You ain't get in the middle of their lesbian bed, did you? You didn't. But they made you the enemy. That's how corny some of them are. They made you the enemy, right? Okay. So they could have did that in their bedroom, but they didn't do it, did they? They came out here in the field, didn't they? They used a significant number of people. I'm showing you how this is a war and how you declare war. You don't play games, okay? When people come out in a significant number of people, and they come out in a significant number, and it's a consistent, significant amount of time that they've been in those people have been in that same position. You come and see the situation and declare war, which means your response is not going to be a back and forth game. Your response is warfare for their destruction. Hold up. See that part? Most Christians ain't going to pray for their destruction. Hold up. Once you declare war, what you supposed to do? You going to go back and pray when you declare war? Oh, so your war is just when you declare war. I'm talking about real war. I'm not talking about no games. I'm talking about real war where they use physical human beings, a significant amount of physical human beings, right? For X amount of time. Listen, we not playing no games. I'm sorry you was misinformed about this side. We not playing no games. Okay? You came over here, you played with us for X amount of time, you thought it was a game. It's not a game. And so guess what we gonna do? We declared war. And guess what? When we declare war, what is the objective? Oh, to get them saved. No, you gotta confuse, little buddy. You gotta confuse. That's spiritual war. Ooh, see that part? That's spiritual war. That's the spiritual war part. When it comes to a physical war, you see, you're not used to it. I'm trying to show you what it is. You dealing with physical war. That's what it is. You've been saying spiritual war, spiritual war, spiritual war. No. We talking about when a significant amount of people are against you for X amount of time. That's not time to try to get them saved. That's a physical war in any context or situation. Whether you was a Christian or not. Think about it like that. If you was in the streets and people are all against you, what is that? That's a war. That ain't no game. So how else we were supposed to look at it? All you got to do is think about when you was in the streets. If you seen people all against you everywhere you went, what is that to you? That's a war. That's what it is. That ain't no game to us. That's what I'm saying. So then you have to differentiate that those people are no longer people that you focus on getting saved. You at war with them. So if you on the battlefield and you at war with somebody, you thinking about getting them saved while you on the battlefield. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When you taking evangelism too far. Yes, you are. Okay, right here, where God's people went to war in the Bible, was they praying for them to get saved while they was going to war with them in the Bible? No, let's go back to 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter, 7 through 10, did you see anywhere, see where I'm going with this? Where the prophet Samuel prayed for the people that he was fighting. He didn't pray for them, did he? He didn't try to get them saved. So at some point in war, when war is declared, we're not trying to get them saved. They have become the enemy. And I'm not confused. Are you confused? You're not confused about this, right? Okay. Then guess what? We go to war for their destruction. Listen. I don't go to war to pray for you. I don't declare war and then turn around and pray for you. I guess you had it confused. That's spiritual warfare. When I'm praying for people to get saved, think about what I'm saying. You know the difference. That's spiritual war when I'm trying to get lost souls. But when we're in a physical war, it's time to go to war, and that's all it is to it. You see what I'm talking about? It's time to go to war. So then people think it's a cartoon, but then when they look outside, they know better. See how our enemies try to save face, man, you know better, buddy. You know your country is toe up from the floor up. And what you think it is? It's us going to war with you, buddy. We declare war. Once we seen a significant amount of people against us, and we seen them against us for X amount of time, even in this building. I've been in this building how many months? 5 months. These people been enemies the whole time. We declare war. That's all. Okay? That's the only thing that makes sense. If you see a whole bunch of people against you and you trying to live, what you gonna do then? Keep in mind, they using their free will to be against you. Which means even with you praying, most likely, let's address that. Most likely, they gonna use their free will to still fight you. No, we gonna use wisdom. Wisdom is to realize, okay, I can pray, but these people like them are gonna most likely use their free will to continue to fight us, right? Right. Wisdom tells us that. So I'm not out here thinking, well, I'm just waiting for them to get saved. See, you become a casualty in a real war. See, your type become a casualty. Once I see you playing games and I size you up as a bugged out person using witchcraft, full of demons and everything, I'm not waiting to get you saved. I'm going to war. See, how you need to hear it right here and right now is that America became a physical enemy against Christians. That's all you need to know. Settle it within yourself. That's what it is. And we seen a significant number of people against us for X amount of time. You just didn't have a militant-minded official like me come in and declare a war. These preachers ain't doing it. They're going to say it's spiritual war. It's a physical war within spiritual war. That's what it is. Okay, so then it's not just spiritual war. Right. If they're using physical people with operations, that's not just no spiritual war. That's a physical war too. Right or wrong? Okay then. So who's tripping? People that thought they could play in the field and it wouldn't be declared as a war. That's who's tripping. That's who's tripping. You thought it wouldn't be declared as a physical war, and it is. The only thing you need is a significant amount of people for X amount of time. Those two things come together, you can easily get people to believe that it's a physical war against you. That's all you need. I don't need nothing else. I don't need you to pull out a gun and say it's a war. All I need is is see, that's simple-minded people. All I need is a significant amount of people against me where we know that's short. That's true. We know that for sure. And we see that they're against us for X amount of time, for a significant amount of time. That's all you need to declare war, buddy. That's all you need. They ain't got to pull out one gun. That's a war. You got people following you around, playing with you and playing in your face. And that's how long that been going on? Years. That's a war, buddy. And that's why this happening to them. See, they thought, because I'm black, I'm trying to be gangster. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier, buddy. What you talking about? I'm higher ranking than a gangster. I'm higher ranking than a criminal. A thug is a criminal. I'm not a criminal. I'm an armed man. I'm not no criminal. When have I done crimes? When the last time I done a crime? I'm not a criminal, buddy. I'm a soldier. Okay? Now, you might be a thug or a gangster or whatever. What's higher ranking than that is a soldier, buddy. I'm a soldier. I have objectives. I get my objectives done, as I've clearly stated. You played yourself thinking I was a cartoon. I was somebody to play with. Key example of the peace and fellowship offerings. After a devastating civil war against the tribe of Benjamin, the Israelites offered both burnt offerings and peace offerings to seek God's guidance and restoration. See, this was done, you can see time and time again that this was done around wars. They offered offerings around wars. This was a spiritual principle during times of war. Judges, the 20th chapter, the 26th verse, is where you find the civil war between the tribe of Benjamin, right? Where the Israelites offered both burnt offerings and peace offerings to seek God's guidance and restoration. After a devastating civil war against the tribe of Benjamin, that's the Israelites. So the Israelites had a civil war with the tribe of Benjamin. After a devastating civil war against the tribe of Benjamin, the Israelites offered both burnt offerings and peace offerings to seek God's guidance and restorations. To seek God's guidance and restoration. That's Judges, the 20th chapter, the 26th verse. See, among black people, it's a civil war. It's a civil war among us. That's how you declare it. Instead of saying one part is a sellout, nope, it's a civil war. It's a civil war because black people came out here ignorant, playing with the prophet's life. So if you was watching a movie, all this would be is a civil war. A civil war among black people. While they'll try to act like it's something else and I'm a sellout or whatever else and I hate them, the fact is it's a war and that's it. You made it that way. You came out here playing with me. It was a significant amount of black people. Everybody know that. And you did it for X amount of time. That's a war. And that's that. And it's a civil war between us and you. But because you put Americans in it, it became more, and you tried to bring the war and try to handle it for yourself, and you couldn't. You weren't even competent enough to handle the war for yourself. Okay? You added all these other people to it. You added white people and all these other people to it. And now it's a war against America. We're going to go up as much as it takes. Like, okay, if it's America, if we see a significant amount, this is how you do it. You see a significant amount of people that's black for X amount of time, it's a war against them. You see a significant amount of people that's white, X amount of time, it's a war against them. You see a significant amount of people that's Hispanic or Latino in America against us, for X amount of time, it's a war against them. We declare war up unto America. Two was a significant amount of Americans against us for X amount of time, and we declare war in your whole community. That's class. Well, I can break it down. You can't break down nothing you doing, can you, sucker? You can't break it down, can you? Not like me. See, I'm real military, buddy. I'm real military. I done got respect from real military. Have you ever got respect from real military? Why you think I'm playing games? I done lived with military. You ever lived with military? I lived with them. Don't ever doubt me, doubt yourself. I lived with military. Do you understand? I lived with men that did real tours and killed people in war. No, not just joined the military. I lived with men that killed people in war. Bloody men. Bloody warriors that served in the U.S. military. The Vietnam War and the Iraq War. The Iraqi War. 2 major wars. I lived with 2 military men. You see what I'm saying? I hope you understand. You ain't playing with no amateur, buddy. I live with real military, buddy. Who cares who you are? I don't care. Now, the grain offering, while primarily an offering of worship and thanks for provision, while primarily an offering of worship and thanks for provision, the grain offering was often connected to the burnt offering. So the grain offering was with the burnt offering. The grain offering, while primarily an offering of worship and thanks for provision, the grain offering was often connected with the burnt offering, not just by itself. Remind you, the main offering in war was the burnt offering. That was the main offering in war in the Bible. During times of war, physical wars, real physical wars, they offered the burnt offering. But the grain offering was not really by itself. It was with the burnt offering. Okay. Significance in war. The grain offering significance in war. It acknowledged God as the sustainer of the nation and its resources. In the desert, where grain was scarce, sacrificing it was a radical act of faith that God would provide the daily bread needed to keep the army fed. So the grain offering offered in times like in the desert, where things were scarce, was a radical act of faith. See, sometimes with the offering, the financial offering, when you ain't got a lot, that's when you need to act. That's when you need to give the offering. You need to give the offering when you ain't got a lot. You don't never wait for perfect circumstances to give the offering. In fact, it's when the offering works, obviously. Listen, the offering is about you getting what you need, right? So wouldn't it make sense that you would give this offering when you don't have anything? You don't have any. You're giving the offering for something to happen, right? And I'm glad I said that too, because the offering, as we see through these offerings, were given expecting God to do something. Not just how Americans would say it, oh, I'm giving from my heart. I don't expect nothing. These scriptures show us they gave offerings expecting something. Non-animal offerings for victory. Beyond livestock, the Bible highlights other forms of offerings that secured victory. Prayer and fasting, often described as a spiritual offering. Fasting was used to humble the nation before battle. Before battle, they went into fasting, as seen with King Jehoshaphat when facing a vast army. This is 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, the 3rd and 4th verse. So prayer and fasting as an offering before battle. What I'm trying to show you is offerings around real physical battles and what you need to do around real physical battles. You don't just sit back. You don't just sit back and think nothing's going to happen. Or excuse me, God is just going to do something. You have to play your position. Okay, so prayer and fasting was often described as a spiritual offering. Fasting was used to humble the nation before the battle. So fasting was done during times of war. Fasting was done during times of war. You should be fasting all around warfare times. That's why I'm always fasting. This is a time of war, and that's all there is to it. And it's not going to stop. We going to make sure these clowns get what they want. They want smoke, we going to give it to them. It's that simple. 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, the 3rd through the 4th verses. This shows us King Jehoshaphat facing a vast army. I'm guessing that let's go into it. Let's see what it says. I got time. But he probably commanded a fast before they went into war. That's what he did. See, this has to happen because people want to be famous, man. I mean, and we on edge. We ready to kill. I don't know what you thought. You can't play with with human beings and think nothing ain't gonna happen. We don't care nothing about that psychological stuff. They trying to trigger right now while I'm in here. They think I'm stupid, bro. I'm a soldier, man. I know where my mind is at. I know ain't no cartoon to me. It's a cartoon in you that think that stuff even means something. To think it even means something, that's what I'm saying. To think that even means something, bro. So look, man. I'm in 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, the 3rd through the 4th verse. And like we established, even if we do think something, do you care? Do you care what all they done in this country? Do you care? We don't. We just declare war and we go to war. These are clowns. Okay, they clowns. We listen, I'm armed now. They don't want no smoke, man. I got my arms now. Just in case you think I'm playing cartoon games. No, because some people think Christians saying war and this is a cute little thing. Like we going to... Bro, I stay armed, man. I stay armed. The 2nd chapter, 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, the 3rd through the 4th verses. Frightened, Jehoshaphat decided to ask for the Lord's help. He announced a fast throughout Judah. The people of Judah gathered to seek the Lord's help. They came from every city in Judah. So Jehoshaphat decided to ask for the Lord's help. He announced a fast throughout Judah. So he called for a corporate fast. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, you gotta use fasting to get spiritual results during times of war. You gotta use fasting to get results during times of war, physical war. Like I said before, some people are not used, they don't have no reference or experience in real physical wars with how to respond as a spiritual person. They don't know how to respond as a spiritual person, right? Okay, so then what do? So you realize that, okay, although our fight is spiritual, you could come to a time where you have to fight physical enemies. See, some of y'all are going to be aware of this more going into the days ahead. But right now, you're still stuck on it. You still don't understand that you have to fight physical wars. But you're doing it right now by the good news is you're doing it right now by spiritual means. But it could become physical later. Oh, we leave room for that. It could. It could become physical where we got to take up arms and go to war. You know, but right now we're using spiritual weapons. Like people in the Bible. They used spiritual weapons and it worked. It was effective. But also I still leave room that we might have to take up arms and go to war with these Freemasons and these secret society people in the last days. Because it's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't let people act bad for free. You know, if you play that position, you got to take what come with it, like the streets. The streets, many people played the position of trying to be tough, and they died. They died in that position. There's nobody on earth, especially among warriors, who play a bad boy position, but you don't die. But you don't go to war. No, you go to war, buddy. You go to war. You want to play that position. You want to be cool, and you want to look like you playing that position. You gonna go to war. We go to war with you, and that's that. That's that. I'm sorry you thought something else was going on, and we willing to die for ours, buddy. We willing to die in our position. We already live, buddy. You trying to get the strength to be on our level. You trying to get the energy to be like us. You ain't built like that. That's why you still confused. Walking around playing with doors and psychological stuff, and it's almost World War III. We don't care nothing about that. Because anybody cross my threshold, it's on and popping. It's that simple. Doubt me and then see what happened to you. Because I think like a soldier. That's why you should listen. That's more dangerous than a criminal. A criminal might do it for emotion. I do it to protect myself. That's why you ain't got to doubt. Listen, you ain't got no room to doubt me. Because I'm going to do it to protect myself. Which means I ain't got to walk around like a bad boy. I ain't like a street person. I ain't got to walk around like none of that. I'm going to kill based on my protection. Not trying to play some certain position. You see the difference? That's how we got to be. I'm a real soldier, buddy. I ain't no play soldier. Sorry you thought I was. Sorry you thought I was, buddy. There ain't no play soldiers here. You ain't got no. And what's so beautiful about us as God's people, they ain't got nobody to blame but they self. That's what I'm saying. It ain't like, oh, we went around messing around them and everything. We picked a fight with them. They can't say that. They played around us and they got what they wanted. They got the smoke that they wanted, buddy. And now we turned up every day. We listen, we own one every day, right? That's it. That's all there is to it. You can't get us off of it. We grown men. We grown men and grown women. You can't get us off of it. We ain't no child you can turn on, light it like a light, you can turn us off and on. Okay, once you play with certain people, man, it's over. They willing to die. They going all the way in, man. Ain't nothing you could do about it. Once somebody got their heart to kill you because of what you did to them, it's over. Ain't nothing you could do. That's how we know you clowns, because you wasn't paying attention to your enemies and how they was getting angrier and angrier and angrier and preparing for war. You wasn't paying attention. That's why, man, look, man, I'm going to tell you just like this. You wasn't raised properly for you to become who you are. For you to be who you are, and this is your faith. For you out here playing with the community, you wasn't raised right. Your parents wasn't nothing. Your parents failed you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth, buddy. Your parents failed you for you to be in this predicament. I'm pretty sure that I can go back to your bloodline and find that you was failed by your parents, for you to become the person that you are. It's a family effort. We're dealing with family bloodlines. No. Let that sink. Let that digest that. We're dealing with sorry, trifling bloodlines. Oh, you thought I was just saying something to be saying something, didn't you? Yeah, we playing with trifling bloodlines. We playing with these ignorant, trifling bloodlines when you can find folk all the way 2 and 3 months through 2 and 3 generations ago. Besides them, all we dealing with is funky tribes of people, funky generations of people that wasn't raised right. That's why you see how you can tell I'm raised right. You know how you can tell? You can see the class in everything I do. I got class. I go to war. I got class. Oh, I ain't got class. I'm showing you the Bible. I'm showing you how we got legal right. Where you real good. Where you good. You good, bruh. Listen, you good. You good, man. Listen, we got legal right to do this. We got spiritual legal right. I can get the right Americans to know what's going on, and they're going to give me legal right to do it. That's how bad this is, man. And we keep our mind in war at all times. We don't keep our head on the swivel. We keep our brain on the swivel. Whoever made that term should have patented it. He should have patented that, shouldn't he? I know he kicking himself in the butt for not patenting that. I would have patented that if I made that. Head on the swivel, I would have patented that and put that on t-shirts and everything. But see, that's the businessman I am. See what I'm saying? But people act like you ain't got no mind to think and you're broke. I come up with ideas all the time. I'm an inventor. I invent things. The only but I'm using that to go to war right now. I'm using my brain to go to war. But you see how quick I am on my toes. If I made the term head on the swivel, I would have patented that. Oh yeah. Wouldn't have took a lot of money to do it. And you could have enforced on anybody that was using it on their channels on YouTube, or it's gonna be eventually in the movies. It's gonna be, somebody might make a movie head on the swivel. Before you know it, somebody gonna make a movie head on the swivel, or these rappers gonna make a song. They probably already done a head on the swivel. And guess what? I patent that, and listen. I sue everybody who use it, who in another position, who got more money than me to use that term. I would have patented that. See, some people ain't got business sense though. But you can see I do. If I come up with something, I patent that, buddy. Oh yeah. And you can do a poor man patent, where you mail something to yourself and you can prove that in court. Okay, well, here it is where I said head on the swivel. Boom. This in the letter. You see the letter stamped at certain dates. Okay, so when did he start saying that? Okay, I've been saying that since then. Can't make it up. There it is. See, that's a poor man's copyright. That's a poor man's copyright. A poor man's patent copyright. Yeah, that's what you do. Okay, see, y'all in a whole bunch of trouble. You know what I'm saying? You play like it was the streets, and you played with somebody that went beyond the streets to war. I went to war. Now everybody on my side, they don't care nothing about that psychological stuff. That's what you think you got. I can see you right out there. And you think you got the psychological stuff, something we don't even care nothing about. Because you know what I know? You know what I know, sucker? No, listen, nobody cares about that anyway. You playing the clown's position where you trying to find us in psychological games. We don't care nothing about that. I'm telling you to your face. I'm telling you to your ears. I know your ears hear this, don't you? Well, I'm telling you to your ears, we don't care nothing about that. So then what? What you want to do? You ain't built like that, little buddy. I can take it all the way outside if you want to, where it ain't no cameras. It's just me and you. See, you ain't built like that. You ain't no man. I take this outside this building if you act like you want some smoke. You want smoke? I take it outside the building, where we can really get it in. Where we can really get it in, buddy. We ain't gotta play like you want smoke and you know you halfway don't. We can be real about this. See, that's what level I'm on, buddy. You can think it's a game if you want to. Listen, I guarantee you won't. Listen, I know you won't insinuate it. I know you won't. Listen, I know you won't challenge that. I know you ain't gonna do that. So then, me and you two different type of individuals, buddy. You the type to sit up in a room and play around like you going to war with somebody. Like you in the building, you sitting around playing around in the building like you're doing something. That's what I'm saying. Ain't no grown man gonna do that. A grown man gonna say, I offer you out to a fight. We can go right out here. You feeling some type of way? That's what a grown man gonna conclude that eventually. That's what you expect him to say eventually. Anybody want smoke? We can go outside. We can go right around this corner. Ain't no buildings over there. By the time I get it in, it's already too late by somebody come over there. I done been around listen, buddy. Listen, New York, I done lived in East New York. I done lived in Bed-Stuy. They ain't tell you that, did they? I done lived in Harlem. I done lived with a woman from the South Bronx. Old school South Bronx. You didn't know that, did you? How can I be a cornball and I live with a woman from the South Bronx, old school, who used to sell cocaine in the clubs, who used to travel with the Yankees? That's even before I came to New York. She from the South Bronx. I live with her. I'm just showing people, man. Like, listen, bro. If you think it's fake, man, I'll listen. Sometimes, you know what it is, and this is how I like to put it. You know, some people that ain't never really seen no real good jewelry will think something is fake. So if it's so big, like if you get a big gold chain, it's like like ridiculous, right? Like ridiculously big. You know, a person that ain't never seen no gold gonna think it's fake. If you ain't never seen no diamonds, even though the average person know if you put the diamonds in the light, you know that, and you see the colors, that's how you know it's real, right? For the most part, right? Even though it can get tricky, you can get fooled by that. But most people know that's one thing we all go by, right? At face value. But some diamonds can be so big, and you ain't never seen no diamonds, you don't believe it's real. Because you ain't never seen nothing. So if you ain't never seen no real big dogs, when you hear somebody like me, it's going to seem like a fake diamond. It's too big to be real. I'm too big for you to believe that I'm real. That's what it is. Because you ain't never been around no big dogs. That's all it is. I've been around somebody on death row. This dude was on death row, and I tell everybody that in this building. I was around somebody on death row. Like death row inmate. Not Death Row Records. Not Death Row Records. Tupac probably never was around nobody on death row, was he? Oh, Tupac probably wasn't around nobody on death row. Even Suge Knight. Suge Knight probably, well, now he locked up, but he probably wasn't around nobody on death row, was he? Even if he locked up, he still ain't around nobody on death row, though. Huh? I've been around somebody on death row, buddy. That's a whole nother level of felon, buddy. And we know that, don't we? Well, you obviously don't. You probably ain't been around nobody on death row, have you? See, that's another level of violence that you ain't aware of. Now imagine you being around somebody's energy that was on death row. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that to intimidate nobody. I'm saying that to ID myself. That's the difference. You can ID yourself without trying to intimidate people. To let people know, look, man, I've been around somebody on death row. You don't want to see me. You don't want to see me. I make this whole block feel me. I make this whole block feel me. Let alone the building. Okay, you can think whatever you want to think, man. But I'm telling you what it is. I keep armed. I stay armed all the time. This ain't whatever you heard, I don't care about it. We going to war about this. Now you see what type of person they dealing with. I've been around somebody on death row, man. I'll be your worst nightmare. I become a complete madman in warfare. And not in the wrong way. I become a complete madman, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. That's why I try to tell people about witchcraft, man. Listen, witchcraft ain't got nothing on no killers. I don't know what got these people thinking that witchcraft is the worst thing out here. I mean, you might have this nasty attitude, like you don't care what you do to people, but the bottom line is you ain't destroying nobody. You ain't destroying nobody, bruh. We talk about people that will destroy you, and you leave the earth, and you don't come back. I don't think you you need to let that sink in, buddy. People make you leave the earth today. It ain't no game, ain't no fraudulence. I've been around real killers. Imagine me being fraudulent. I've been around people right here in New York that kill people. This person killed people. My point is this, bro. However you heard about me moving, listen, I don't contradict myself too much from that, bro. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. I don't contradict myself too much from that. And that's what it is. You can't install no fear in me. You can't intimidate me. I already know. I've been around felons. I already know people putting pressure on people playing game. Come on. I lived in New York. You can't put no pressure on me and I don't know what it is. You can't stand in my lane and you stand in my path and I don't know what you're doing. And I'm mature enough, guess what? Well, if you are a citizen, you're going to get locked up. I don't play with citizens. Because you know what citizens will do? Wind up getting you locked up. No, guess what? Guess what? I'm going to beat you to it. I'm going to beat you to it, buddy. You ain't going to get me locked up. You ain't going to get me locked up, buddy. No. I don't play with citizens. No. I want y'all to understand this as a soldier. Don't play with citizens, man. Because you know what a citizen will wind up doing? Playing that hip hop, that internet lane and all of that stuff. You'll be the one locked up. Trying to be 100 with somebody that is a citizen. That's a citizen. So you don't listen. You don't even try to talk to no citizen. You put them in prison or jail. Because that's where they need to go. So see, that's how I matured as a man. I don't play with citizens. I don't play with citizens. If I find that you don't have the same values and principles as me, just for a perfect example, a white person. You think I'm going to try to stick to G codes with a white person? So if a white person violated me on the streets, you think I'm going to stick to a G code with this person? This is a white man with a family. Let's say it's a white woman and a white man. You think I'm going to stick to G codes? No. You a citizen. You citizens. I'm finna call the police. That's right, buddy. See, some of y'all ain't gonna make it. You know why? Because you try to keep G codes with people that's civilians. You try to keep street codes with people that's civilian. No, you need to update yourself, buddy. Ain't nobody gonna think you a snitch. We ain't Bart Simpson. A snitch is somebody who tell on drug dealers. That's a snitch. If you out here playing with people and you crazy, then we calling the police. Okay? Because you a citizen. See, that's the best. Because if you try to fight every fight, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna wind up in jail. You're gonna wind up catching a body with a loser. You're gonna wind up killing a loser. I'm dead serious. You're gonna wind up killing a loser and going to prison for killing a loser, bruh. Somebody that ain't even got no money. You know how many people while we talking about people catching bodies, you know how many people that's done kill people? You done kill people and they broke. You kill broke people. And that ain't nothing to brag about. You kill somebody that was broke. You killed a poor man. That ain't nothing to brag about. I got big fish to fry. And that's facts. I got big fish to fry. and we ain't paying attention to nobody. They can't make us no fish sandwich. They can't even listen, they ain't even enough, that ain't even enough fish to put me on the bread, to put on my bread, to make me a fish sandwich. I can't even make a fish sandwich out of them. You can't even make me a fish sandwich. We frying big fish with a fish hanging out the side of the bread. The fish hanging out the side of the bread. The fish hanging out the side of the bread. We making fish sandwiches with a fish hanging out the side of the bread, bruh. You can't even make me a fish sandwich. So why would I kill you? See, I learned that. See, that's the difference. Now you know you're a big dog. Listen, bro, you could think I'm playing and people know I'm not. I done beat somebody down in the streets. I'm just saying, here in New York, I got somebody that can vouch for that. They put hands on me and I beat them down in the streets, a grown man. So you can't say I can't fight. I did this in front of somebody who went to school with 50 Cent, the rapper. This dude went to school with 50. He seen me beat this man down in the street. And guess what he said? Guess what he said? Oh, is that necessary? He asked me, is that necessary? I don't have it to prove though. That's what I'm saying. That's how you know the difference. I expect you, if you high rank, to not act like, act petty, like you playing games and playing in people's lane for fun. A big dog ain't gonna do that. Nah, I ain't playing in nobody lane for fun, buddy. You know why? I'm gonna tell you the main reason why today. The main reason why today is times is too dangerous, buddy. People got too much frustrations. Besides who they are as a person, people sit back and they got too much frustration, and you play in their lane, they might lose their mind, bro. That's dead serious. So you can't think, to me that's a corny person when you don't consider the changes in the world. And I lost my brother got murdered 2 years ago. Home invasion, murdered. My brother got murdered. Home invasion, kicked in the door and killed him. I talk about real stuff. It don't register with people, because sometimes some people, man, I'm gonna tell you what, some people are rusty. You rusty, man. Maybe you was the man, maybe you was that chick back in the day, but you not now. And you ain't really relevant with the streets. You ain't really relevant with no real stuff. You ain't lost no casualties. You ain't got no casualties in your family for quite some time. Ain't nobody got killed in your family. And so you done got a little comfortable with trying people and playing in people's face. You know what I'm saying? We done lost people where now we more alert. You lose your brother, I'm more alert than you. I ain't playing. I'm more alert. And you don't know where the energy coming from. The energy sometimes comes from experiences that you have, buddy. Sometimes the energy comes from experiences that you have. You simple-minded. People start losing their family. You think they're going to play with you? So what their energy going to be like? You done lost your brother. You think I'm going to play with somebody? And my brother dead. And was one of the best brothers, the one that didn't get locked up, that kind of stuff. That's how our family is, the same kind of stories, like Boys in the Hood, where Ricky and Doughboy. Doughboy was the one should have been dead first. Ricky was the one was promising, was supposed to go to school. My brother that got killed was a good boy like that. Had his own place. I ain't never had my own house. Had his own house. Had a nice little car. Had his own house or whatever. And ain't never been to jail. He had never been to jail. All the rest of the brothers that my dad had. My dad has 4 kids. I'm the oldest brother, right? That's why I carry myself like this. I'm the oldest, right, of my dad's children. My dad and my mom's children. I'm the oldest, right? So This brother that died of the fort was the the best brother, the good one, the one that didn't. We ain't never see his mug shot. See, that's how you know, man. Listen, that's how you know your family in the streets. You see mug shots of your family, don't you? Oh, hey, black people know what I'm talking about. When you go and search the city and you see mug shots of your family. Oh, she done got locked up. He done got. Nobody ain't tell me about that. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know, huh? You go see your cousins locked up. Wow. Mug shots, everything. Yeah, you know. Here in New York, you ask NYPD. Ask NYPD. Weapon charge. That's all I get. Go ask NYPD. How many times I've been locked up for weapons? The last time I had weapons, I ran from the police. Oh yeah, I wasn't getting locked up. I'm sorry. I'm being gang stalked. Police. Listen, I'm not walking around here not armed at all or don't got no weapons. Ask NYPD. If you think I'm playing, go ask NYPD. Oh, he got weapon charge right here. Weapon charge. Over and over again. Over and over again. But I'm glad to say I haven't been locked up since for 3 years. I haven't been arrested for 3 years. I'll say arrested. I didn't spend no time in jail. They gave me the ticket, and the ticket fell off in 4 months. That's how I work in New York. So I got them tickets for having weapons more than one time, and they just fall off for 4 months. But I got a menacing with weapons charge where this woman tried to accuse me of menacing her with weapons. Wasn't nothing but a gang stalker, had to be. I almost had a menacing with weapons charge, menacing with knives charge. Yeah. Which I probably would have had to do, 3 months in jail, something like that. Maybe 6 months, maybe, something like that. I don't know. Maybe more, I don't know. But I beat that charge. That's the only charge I had that was a little more significant in New York. This woman talking about I was menacing. I got a menacing with knives charge. Yeah. I beat it though. God beat it. God beat that, and you know, I'm grateful that I'm out the way. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm trying to keep it. That's now you see what I'm saying. Now a person can feel you. You know what I'm saying? Because people act like you ain't never been arrested. You ain't never had them cops put them cuffs on you. I had a cop pull a taser on me, man. That time I ain't go to jail. Police pulled the taser on me. I had the weapons on me. I'm in a bodega. I done got my groceries and everything early in the morning. I done went grocery shopping and everything. Police come in the bodega while I'm in the bodega. Had a taser drawn, pointed at me. He already had it on me. He didn't say, oh, I'm gonna pull it on you. Oh, he had it on me when he came in. I ain't even know what it was. He pulled it on me. It was yellow. He pulled the taser on me. He had it pointed on me and everything. That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, look, man. I don't say it to intimidate nobody, man. But you know, I just want people to see what is real and understand what's real over here. You know what I'm saying? That's for New York. That's in New York. Last time the police mashed that gas on me and tried to chase me. Oh, I threw them weapons off me. I ain't go to jail for that. Oh no. I ain't care about the weapons getting lost. They got lost. I ain't care about it. I let it go. I ain't going to jail for no weapons. I tossed that stuff off me. Somebody else got it too. I always keep good weapons. Somebody got that. Oh yeah. But see, you can see I'm a soldier, man. Am I a criminal? I'm not trying to be. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna be armed in this situation. You know, and people gonna sympathize with that, and people gonna relate to it, because people say, "Ah, man, you know, you was talking good, but look at you now." Nah, I'm still talking good, because the real reason I'm carrying these weapons is we all know why. So it's not me trying to be a tough guy. I'm carrying these weapons because these people playing in my face. My brother just got murdered, man, 2 years ago. Okay, you think I'm gonna stop carrying weapons after that? No. No, buddy. No, sir. No, sir, bruh. No, sir. Okay? I ran from the police right after that. Not too much longer after that. I ran from the police after that and got away. He didn't even know. Like, he was confused. He was confused, you know. I came back up the block, he ain't see nothing. He seen me with a little tablet. I had a little tablet with me that day, walking around with a little tablet outside. And he probably thought that's what he saw, right? And he just dismissed it. He ain't even stop me and say, "Sir," nothing. The tablet confused him. A tablet. So, I don't boast or brag, you know what I'm saying? But I just want people to know I'm not acting, because it's a lot of actors. You know what I'm saying? And I come from the South. I come from North Carolina. I don't come from New York. So, I lived in Los Angeles. Maybe they didn't tell you that too. Oh, that's important information. I lived in Los Angeles. They ain't tell you that. Because they want you to be blind. They want you to think you can win, and you can't. You can't win with somebody like me. I done lived in Los Angeles. I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Harlem. I lived in Staten Island, Shaolin, where Wu-Tang from. I lived in Park Hill. Come on, man. Listen, you can't see me, bro. All day. Stop playing. I lived in Shaolin, Staten Island. I know about catching them ferries and everything. And my thing is this. If I pass the smell test through all them places, who you supposed to be? That's what a nigga like me gonna say. Who you supposed to be, bro? That's what I'm saying. I live in Staten Island, Bed-Stuy, East New York, New Lots Avenue, Knickerbocker. I walk all through where Marcy Avenue is at, on Fulton Street. I know about Marcy Avenue. I've been all down through Marcy Avenue. You tell me who you supposed to be. That's what people getting offended about. Because I done walked through everywhere and I done passed the smell test everywhere. So then who you supposed to be? That's what we talking about. That's what we talking about. And that's when you pump yourself up and put yourself and played yourself and put yourself in that position. You did. You played yourself. Because I'm the same person who walked through Marcy Avenue, Marcy Projects. I'm not saying it to boast and brag. I'm just saying if you was around those areas, okay, then if something was strange about you, it would have been figured out already. Think about what I'm saying. If you go through Marcy Projects, I know the corner stores across the street. I know about Marcy. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, man, if you walking around those areas and you in the vicinity of those people, who you supposed to be is what we trying to figure out. That's above that. That's above that kind of credibility. Who you supposed to be? That's what we trying to figure out. And then when we figure out that you really ain't credible yourself, you really ain't got nothing going on yourself. See, now you awaken people to want to eat you like animals. Now you dinner because you shouldn't have been playing with me, and you ain't as credible as I am. You ain't as credible as me. See, you thought me and you was the same. I tried to tell you that. I tried to tell you. I lived all those places. Bed-Stuy. I didn't even know what Bed-Stuy was when I first came to New York. I ain't know nothing about Marcy Avenue, nothing. I just put two and two together. Okay, well, that's Marcy Project. So that's Marcy. I'm like that. Walking around, oh, okay, there's Marcy Avenue. I remember when Marcy and Avenue in Fulton Street used to have the Burger King on the corner. Only the Brooklynites know that over there. right? I remember when they used to have the Burger King over there. Now they got the TD Bank over there. So now you know I've been over there recently. You know what I'm saying? Man, come on, bro. Man, I'm sitting around. I walked around there drinking everything, bro, chilling like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the first neighborhood I came to. That's why I'm like this. I was in the Armory. Everybody know the Armory in Brooklyn. I was in the big old Armory shelter. That's where I started at. Now imagine somebody acting like I'm new to this. That was 13 years ago. That when I was in Bed-Stuy, that was 13 years ago. Going on 14 years this year. Man, come on, stop playing, bro. Stop playing with me. Here I am almost 20 years later. That's why it's just disgusting, bro. It's disgusting for people that, you know, whether they real or not, I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care if you're real. You listen, I see real dudes fall off all the time. I see real dudes fall off all the time, bro. You can make you just cause you're real, that don't mean nothing. I've seen it. You can make a mistake and all your credibility is gone. Everything, it happens all the time to these dudes. They fold for whatever reason. And your whole credibility is gone. That's why I have to stay away from people, man, who provoke me, bro. Because I don't need to be calling the police. I don't do it for reputation. You know what I'm saying? But with somebody like me, do I need to be calling the police on some citizens? And then people reading it the wrong way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now people questioning me because of some lame tranny that, you know, that want to get reputation and want to play in my lane, and you mad about whatever. And I don't care what you mad about. So what? We all got something to be mad about. You know that? That's what an old man gonna tell you. You know what an old man gonna tell you? We all got something to be mad about, buddy. And you know what? The next time you think about trying somebody, that's what you need to consider. We all got something to be mad about, buddy. I guarantee you, I can find something that you could be mad about. I can find something I could be mad about this morning. Okay? So why you playing with me? I got something I could be mad about. I got something I could be mad about, buddy. Don't play with me. Don't test me, buddy. That's all I'm saying. I put that on everything I love. Don't test me. Test yourself and realize, listen, you came out here playing with people and you know darn well it ain't no room to play with nobody like that. And anybody gonna take you seriously. I'm not taking you seriously. I'm on point. That's what it is. See, I'm gonna tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to die like a man, and you don't want to. That's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to. It ain't nothing else you're supposed to do. It ain't nothing else you're supposed to do. It ain't nothing else you're supposed to do. You supposed to die like a man. That's what you're supposed to do. But you ain't gonna do it, so guess what? We gotta go to war. That's it. That's all there is to it. But you ain't gonna pull me into your situation where I lose credibility or I lose who I am because you follow behind my brother. You know, he mad about a woman, his woman loving me, liking me, and being attracted to me. Listen, y'all whole side is suckers over there. And that's it. That's it. It ain't gonna ever be right. And you can think whatever you want to think. And guess what, buddy? I ain't gonna lose no sleep about none of that psychological mumbo jumbo. Okay? So, like I said, all of these people that play with me, we declare war on these people. And that's why God is doing what he's doing to these people. The system gonna collapse. This system is going to collapse. When it collapses, all of this is gonna be over. All of it's gonna be over. And that's all we waiting for. We waiting for the collapse. Psychological games, witchcraft games, we don't think about children in sexual ways. So that ain't gonna work. Oh, I'm just confronting it. I'm confronting it because I'm real enough to confront it. I'm real enough to confront it to wherever you thinking, or whatever you trying to project into my mind, I'm smart enough and spiritual enough to know it's you, right? We don't care about that. We graduated. I graduated that. Now I can look at that like a doctor. Whatever it is you say and whatever it is you put towards me, I know it's you. It don't matter. And you can't trigger on it, oh, closed doors and all kind of crazy stuff. Listen, that's what they're going to be doing. None of that works. Like I told you, I lived in Bed-Stuy. I lived in Park Hill. I lived in Harlem. You don't want to see me, bro. I'm telling you, you don't want to see me. I put that on everything I love. Okay? So that's how it is. That's how we roll it. We finishing this job. We gonna finish this job. We don't have to be here to finish it. This is why I'm leaving this building. It's full of psychological games and everything. And I don't feel like homosexuals should be in my lane. I just don't. Because they the type these days to make it seem like, okay, well, we gonna find tough people that's gay like you, and they tough is just as tough as you. It don't matter. You ain't gonna ever command the same respect because you don't live like I live. You could be tough, you could be bad, but you're not gonna ever command the same amount of respect that I get. Because the men are not gonna respect you because you don't live righteous. You don't turn from your wicked ways. You don't turn from homosexuality. So I did. So men gonna respect me. Men gonna respect me because I turn from my wicked ways. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, that's the difference. I'm not thinking about sex today. See, that's how we win. We not even thinking about sex. Nope, I'm not thinking about it. I celebrate a whole year clean from sex. I haven't had sex with nobody in a whole year. In a whole year. Oh, I had opportunity. I ain't lost my mind, because that's the first thing people gonna think is when you ain't had sex with somebody, you done lost your mind. I haven't lost my mind. I haven't lost my mind. I just know that I'm gonna be effective in war if I'm really living pure. If I'm really living pure, right? We ain't worried about thoughts, because we know they throwing all that kind of psychological stuff. See, Sun Tzu taught this in The Art of War. If I know myself and I know my enemy, I need not to fear the outcome of 100 battles. I know the games, the psychological games they playing. I know I'm pure, right? So no matter what they try to put across your mind, listen, you already know where your head is at, right? Okay, so I ain't even thinking about sex, so I know it's got to be you. And that's how I settle it. So why you thought you walked away and you tried to trigger and you walked away and you thought you won? You didn't. All you're doing is making it harder and harder for your community, man. That's all you're doing. Because we ain't going to stop. I'm built to last. I'm not going to stop anyway. It wouldn't matter if something crossed my mind anyway. I'm real enough to say it. If something crossed my mind, I ain't going to stop. I'm not going to stop. And you ain't going to stop me. So it don't matter. I mean, you could go you can go burn in hell thinking that you won, and you got a thought on me, and I'm going to be in heaven and winning when it's all over. Because I'm like, if you can tell, I mean, by my reputation, I am a righteous person, but I don't care if you don't think I'm a righteous person. I don't care if you don't think that. I don't care if you think I'm a bad person. I don't have that hang up. If you think I'm a bad person, you think I'm unclean, you think I'm a pedophile, so what? I don't care. I don't care about it. I'm too old to care about that. And that's that. I know what you're trying to trigger on, and you're jealous. And like I said, I lived out there in Bed-Stuy. I lived out there with Marcy. I done walked through Marcy Avenue, all of that. Right? Living in Bed-Stuy, living in the Armory and everything. It's right there near Marcy Avenue. So when I say living near Marcy, I was up there on Atlantic Avenue. But I walked through all of Fulton Street, all of that, Nostrand, all of that. And if I pass the smell test, we ain't playing no games with psychological Americans. Playing games. We already know the game they playing. This is why we're doing this. You see why now, right? Okay. So you're not confused with the triggering, closing doors, trying to trigger like we stupid. It's all amateur. It's amateur to a sensei like me. Okay? I know you want to be on this level so bad, but you can't. You can't. Just like a buster, a sucker, a lame that you know you didn't make it in life. And now you're just walking around hating on people that's doing better. That's all it is. That's why we got to get away from them. That's why we got to get away from ignorant black people. I got to. I call it how it is. That's what it is. And I got to get away from you because you just can't stand that I'm above a level. I command way more respect than you. I command way more respect than you. I always am. It's always going to be like this. As long as I'm living, I'm going to always be greater than people like you. And that's that. There ain't nothing you can do. I'm too ahead of you. Okay, so we realize that we need to use the offering as spiritual warfare. Okay? We realize we got to use the offering as spiritual warfare. And this is what's going to get God to do amazing things. What I want you to do is get inspired. Get inspired about giving the offering in times of spiritual warfare. Not to get blessings, not to get cars, not to get clothes and whatever else. This offering that I'm talking about is only for spiritual warfare purposes. That's what it's for. We grown over here. We don't care what they think. We get into heaven regardless. Whether they think we cheating or not. Listen, whether they think we deserve to or not, who cares? We get into heaven and we gonna beat these people. That's what a soldier gonna tell you. Listen, you make mistakes, you get back up, you repent, you ask God to forgive you, you get back up. That's that, and that's that. Ain't nobody gonna stop you from getting back up. You ask God to forgive you, right? Okay, so then you get back up and you don't care what they thinking. That's that. That's how I live my life. So a Christian, you can never make us stay down, because I'm gonna just say, hey, at the end of the day, I can repent and God gonna cleanse me, and I'm gonna get back up and do what I gotta do. And you can hold on to it or whatever you want to do. I told people this. All they gonna keep doing is playing psychological games till they think they won. But in reality, they can't win. It's nothing they can do to win. It's too far gone. It's too far gone for you to win. I don't see how they don't know that. So if you think you're going to fight me to the end, we just going to utilize that to make it worse. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm just saying, if I did have wrong thoughts that you're trying to trigger on, that little stuff you're trying to do, listen, bro, if I had that hang up, I wouldn't even care, bro. I wouldn't care. It ain't going to stop me. I'm just confronting it just so you know how I feel about it. I guess you think I'll be brokenhearted about having a bad thought. Nope, wouldn't be. Not at all. I'm not. Listen, buddy, in the words of Sun Tzu, one of the 5 besetting sins is being delicate in your honor. I'm not delicate in my honor where I think if I have a bad thought, I fall apart. I don't fall apart for that reason. And I don't define myself for that reason. I don't get defined by a thought. You see how far away you are from beating somebody like me? You can't beat me because all you're doing is psychological games. That ain't gonna beat me. I don't care. That's why. You start to despise these people. Think about it. So then that make you don't care even more. I'm like, all the games they playing and stuff, I don't even care what they think, man. Who cares? We don't play by their rules. If they don't play by ours in the real world, right? Well, this country is marrying children, right? Do you think I care about what they thinking about if they don't play by those rules? They're marrying children as Americans. You think I care about their rules of psychological stuff and they doing stuff in reality, marrying children? I don't care, little buddy. And that's how we win. See what I'm saying? While you thinking about psychological stuff, I'm thinking about the real world. That's how we know whatever you was, you ain't no longer that. You a lame now. Man, who gonna think about psychological stuff versus child marriage laws in America? What you gonna think about? Marrying children or what this man is thinking over here and you don't even know what it is. You don't really know. You can't really say for sure. I can say for sure that you're marrying children. But can you say for sure what crossed my mind just now? You can't say for sure, can you? You can't say for sure, can you? So you just close the door like you did something, but you don't really know for sure, do you? You don't really know for sure, do you? That's all them. That's what they do. I mean, it don't bother me, buddy. Because listen, one thing I learned about the Americans, they corny with sexuality anyway. Who thinks about sex all the time? Who? I don't care about it no more. I don't care about sex no more. I don't care about it. I care about pleasing God. I care about going to the next level in righteousness. I care about going to the next level. See, that's how you know, even though what you hear, how I carry myself in war, this is how you know I'm a righteous man. Because listen, I care about pleasing God. So make that make sense when I'm thinking something about children. Make it make sense, bruh. When I'm talking like this, that's how we know it's you. Everybody knows it's you. That's common sense. Everybody know you playing psychological games. I've heard more than one person say this. So I know it's happening. You playing psychological games and everybody know. And we don't care. I don't care about it. Who cares? You just want attention. So what we do is, guess what? We don't even, we ignore all of that. And we talk the facts. Like somebody living in Bed-Stuy, that's facts. Park Hill, that's facts. In Staten Island. Harlem. Walking past the Apollo. I lived at 126 in Lenox. Right there. This is why I'm strong as I am. Like, you ain't gonna break me down, buddy. I don't care nothing about that. See, that's what white folks and these Americans didn't know. You know, you didn't know where I came from. You didn't know how hard I went through New York City. I already lived here, man. That's why I ain't work. That's why I don't care about going out. I already did it. I already had my fun in New York. Working here and everything. That's all I'm saying. I don't fall off, buddy. I don't fall off. We ain't worried about that. What we doing today is using these spiritual weapons against these people, and that's it. That's all we doing. We ain't letting up on them. We keeping pressure on them because the same people they using against us in our neighborhoods, right, and in these buildings and everything. Listen, we want every single last one of them to suffer for what they've doing, what they done. How are we gonna do that? How can we do that? Because they don't think we can do it. I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. The system of America has to be collapsed. That's what has to happen. We have to collapse the system. You see how close we are to doing it. You see the stuff going on in Iran and all these different places. We're so close to doing it. All we have to do is collapse this system. The gas is already up. See, we pay attention to grown man stuff. That's what I'm talking about. And that's all you got to do. Because half of this stuff is amateur. Half of this stuff is juvenile, man. We ain't paying attention to that. You know what we're paying attention to? This oil. This oil over there. This gas. That's what we paying attention to. Yeah. We ain't paying attention. We ain't paying attention to none of that. We ain't worried about none of that, man. We gonna continue to give the offering. And let it be known, these are not our rivals. That's not my rival. Them people outside these doors out here who played all these psychological games just now, that's not my rival, bro. That's not, those people are not comparable to me, man. They not, man. I'm writing President Maduro. I just wrote him. I told him everything about what y'all do as Americans. I wrote him a letter while he's locked up in Brooklyn right here. Yeah, I wrote President Maduro. You understand? I'm on a whole nother level, bro. And that's why, like, now, I don't entertain nobody that ain't doing what I'm doing, man. I just don't. I just don't. That's why I got to remove myself. And I'd rather be on the streets because I'm not going to let people come in and play around doors and play around me. This is why we separated from the Americans 10 years ago. This is why we did it. This is why. So when you see me go to the streets, I want you to know why we doing it. This is why. I'm not, a man like me should not be subject to that. Nah. And that's why I'm moving on, because they think they bad for doing it. You ain't bad to me. You ain't bad to me. I've been around killers. You definitely ain't bad to me. We always get the last laugh, man. We always do. Remember that, buddy. I'm going to make every last one of you that play with me realize I always get the last laugh, man. Always. That's why I don't trip at all. I don't trip one bit because you know what? I know all the games you play to think you can compare yourself to me. Listen, we getting the last laugh. Everything you did in this building, that's why all of this happened to America. We getting the last laugh, buddy. Yeah. So all I ask is, act like you know. You know, you play with me, you play with our community, act like you know, man. Act like you know. So don't get mad because this is happening. You already know what time it is. We giving the offering. We ain't know no ignorance. I was raised right. This is how we win our wars, buddy. I was raised with class. I was raised good. So when we go to war, listen, we do it right. We make these killers clean. We make these killers clean, buddy. We make them killers clean, buddy. We gonna do it just right. We ain't gonna make no mistakes like they making. All that yapping and talking out there, man, listen. Man, them people bums, bro, to me. I'm just keeping it 100. And it's not because you are in poverty. It's because you have a bum spirit. How you think. You think it's me, it's you. How you think, and you sit around people and thinking and worried about what they thinking. That's a bum, bruh. It's a bum. It's no manipulation. That's what it is. Cause I don't listen. At this point in place in time, you think I'm gonna let somebody sucker punch me and think they won everything I work for? You think God? The next question. You think God? This is the bottom line. Do you think God is gonna take anything away from me with a bad thought about children? You think I'm gonna all fall apart? I want you, because I mean, they think that that's what's gonna do it. For who? For me? I don't care if that crossed my mind. So what? I'm man enough to whatever it is. I don't care what it is. That's the next level. I don't care. And that's real. And see, that's how real you gotta be, man. Listen, man. It's so much psychological games going on. How you gonna care what's crossing your mind when you know they playing games? That's what they think they can do with everybody. They probably think it ain't effective with me, but because they doing it to me, they gonna probably do it to you. And what you gonna do? You gonna be hung up on that? I don't, man, listen, bro. I know for a fact what I think about. I know what I desire, and I don't desire no children. Sexually. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm putting it on the tape so you can see, buddy. So you can see with your own eyes what a real man look like. I'm going to tell you to your face, I wouldn't care what it is that crossed my mind. I'm still moving forward. We still going to move forward, buddy. That's what I'm saying. That's a clown game. Meanwhile, simultaneously, this war is on raging. This war is on. This war is on. That's all we talking about, bro. We ain't talking about no clown game, sucker. That's all they doing is psychological games. We don't care nothing about it. I don't care nothing about it. We talk about this offering. Now, the vow, this is a type of offering. Occasionally, leaders made specific vows. Jephthah, I think that's his name, Jephthah vowed to offer whatever comes out of the doors of my house as a burnt offering if God gave him victory over the Ammonites. So Jephthah, I'm gonna say it like that, Jephthah. You see why I struggled on it. Jephthah. I'm gonna say Jephthah. Jephthah vowed to offer whatever comes out of the doors of my house. That's what he said. Anything he offered out of his house, he offered it as a burnt offering if God gave him victory over the Ammonites. So see, he offered anything out of his house by faith. And that's Judges, the 11th chapter, the 30th through the 31st verse. He offered anything that came out of his house if God gave him the victory as a burnt offering. He was going to offer any kind of meat. I'm guessing any kind of animal as a burnt offering. Anything as a burnt offering, he said. Anything that comes out of my doors of my house as a burnt offering. That's what he was going to, that's what he wanted to offer to God. And that's Judges the 11th chapter, the 30th through the 31st verse. So you see, it over and over again, these are spiritual principles where we offer offerings and things happen. You see how you're supposed to be inspired? You can do something about this. About these psychological people. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm sending money to Vietnam. My money coming out to Vietnam, bro. Now, tithes is a certain measurement. Offerings is a certain principle. God will respond. Hold on. Tithes is a certain measurement. Offerings, a certain principle. God will respond. The principle of the offering given during times of war for the purpose of destroying physical enemies. God will destroy physical enemies. He will respond to the principle of giving the offering to destroy physical enemies as he responds to the principle of the offering. Tithes is a certain measurement. Offerings is a certain principle. Right? So tithes was a certain measurement and certain principle in the past, but offerings is a principle that is beyond tithing. Tithing is a certain offering on the spectrum of offerings. That's how I put it. So I just got confused what I wrote. This is my own writings, but a tithe is on the spectrum of offerings. So you can't get confused, like, because the offering tithes are, some people feel like you don't have to tithe no more, that the offering is also gone. The offering isn't never gone, because it's common sense that the house of God has to be taken care of, right? Okay, so we have to take care of God's work. So how the offering gonna be gone? So a tithe is a certain certain type of offering on the spectrum of offerings, but offerings is a certain principle. God will respond to the principle of the offering giving during times of war for the purpose of destroying physical enemies. God will destroy physical enemies. He will respond to this principle of giving the offering to destroy physical enemies as he responds to the principle of the offering. Yeah. So see, that's what needs to be understood. Yeah. Because that's why I'm going to keep going over this over and over again, because see, this is what we doing. This is how we respond to this. This is how we take care of this. We're not confused about this. This is what we have to do. This is going to change everything. I want to inspire you to do the same thing. Give the offering during times of physical war with these enemies. All these secret society people and all these butthurt Americans that's butthurt at us for playing with us. We offer the offering to take care of this. You know what I'm saying? We already declared war. We know why it's war, because it's a significant number of Americans that's been playing with us for a significant amount of time, and we have the right to declare war. Real war, where we can take it to the UN. I already went to the UN. If you don't know, I've already filed a case with the UN. I'm dead serious. I ain't playing no games. That's why I'm raised right. I told you, I'm not ratchet. I'm raised right. I went to the UN. I know how to follow the chain of command. Something a lot of ghetto people don't know nothing about. I follow the chain of command, buddy. And in this case, when Americans are against us, what Americans you gonna go to? You go to the UN. I already filed a case with the UN. And you should do the same thing. If you be engaged, you've been playing with, and all this stuff with these secret society people, you file a case with the UN, the United Nations. I already did it. They already know who I am. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not playing no games. And I just wrote President Maduro. They brought him up here, and we don't even know if they had legal right to do it. See, I wrote him.